What's up, guys? We are live with the Short-Term Rental Pros podcast. So excited to be here today with not one pro, not two, not three, but four of them. We are live from Lower Manhattan, New York City. They're all visiting for the weekend. Super stoked. Let's just go in a circle. Everyone introduce yourselves and what do you do for a living?
All right, just start here. So my name is Federico Zimerman. I know that's a tough one. Freddy is fine as well. And yeah, I'm a short-term rental operator. I have a property management company. I've been in the space for 3-4 years already. And yep, growing, managing for some people around here. So we're just touring properties, visiting New York.
And you help Sarah out, you help. How'd you get hooked with all this squadron?
So also we started together, Sarah, in Texas. So it was like the first arbitrage deal that we got. It was through Sarah, and you were designing properties. I was like, yeah, let's see how it goes. It was our first arbitrage deal with my friend Steve. I'm from Argentina. That's where my accent is from, and I was managing from there. He was in Texas. I had already rented my property, my spare room in Argentina. He was doing some house hacking, and then we got introduced to Sarah. She brought this deal, and we tried it. It went really well. From there, we went to a second arbitrage, third arbitrage, fourth, and then some people reached out and was like, hey, it looks like you know what you're doing. Do you want to manage for me? I would say, yeah, sure, let's give it a try. And we scaled to 75 units, mostly in Texas, Arizona, Alabama. And then it came to a point that we grew a lot, and then I realized that I had a vision on more hospitality, that it's just, not quantity, but quality. And then I started a new management company a month ago to cater for that market, which is just working
more
with people.
Luxury, higher end properties.
Yeah, and
Bigger.
vision of us on hospitality. So it's not that if you have a luxury property and you also own like an apartment that is on arbitrage, I'm gonna decline it. If you have the vision on providing a unique stay, and that unique stay could be through location, design, theme, but it's something that will drive demand. And you will let me do what I like, which is providing hospitality through, if I need to set up a gift, I can do it. If I need to fix something quickly, I have the room to do those type of things, because something that I explain is that every penny that I put in the property is going to have an ROI. It's going to be maybe not immediate, but those reviews that you're going to get, those amenities are going to pay out in the future. And I think that the struggle that I had before is like when you're working with anyone, and a lot of people got into real estate.
They don't understand. They don't
Exactly.
see what it takes to win at this game. They're penny pinching, and they're handcuffing you from doing your job and doing what you actually want to be doing for a living. Okay, cool. Well, we're gonna get into your operations in a little bit, because managing properties for other people, co-hosting as many call it. But yeah, let's just keep rolling. We got Madi. What tell us about yourself.
Yeah. So I'm Madi. I work with investors to find, manage, design, set up Airbnbs for them. So they own them outright, and they come to me to do all the work for them, like A to Z. Like find the property, set it up, design it, put all the amenities in there, and then Federico is the management portion of that process.
Fist bump. You guys gonna fist bump?
And we met through Sarah and Emily, because she was sharing all about Federico and saying how passionate he was, how good he is at it. And we felt the same way, and management just wasn't for us.
And you have your own portfolio as well, right? And
so we have 4 arbitrages in San Diego, and then 1 arbitrage in Hudson. So we're mainly focused on upstate New York now.
You arbitrage? Well, we'll get into it. I guess we got to keep going.
Yeah.
I was about to say, the barn? You arbitrage a barn?
Oh, no, that's a client's property.
Oh, that's a client's property.
Yeah.
I was about to say.
So we have a portfolio of properties in upstate New York that are each owned by different investors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha, Sarah.
Well, hello. I'm Sarah. I'm one half of the Karwell, so the other half of our business is not here.
Shout out Emily.
Shout out Emily. She's currently wrapping up a property, and the last portion of the properties are always just a monster. But we mainly are in Michigan, so we have a couple of arbitrage properties in Texas that Federico, of course, has managed over the last 2 years, and then we decided to start actually purchasing properties in Michigan instead of arbitrage. And so now we're up to 4 properties in Michigan. Some investor funded, some self-funded. And then we have a huge education component on top of our business. So right now we're focused on growing our community before we really decide how we want to scale. So that's
Awesome.
where we're nailing it right now.
Awesome. Skyler?
Yep. Hi guys, I'm Skyler. In addition to working with Madi on all of our kind of just rental arbitrage properties, I also work for a short-term rental fund where I project manage renovations and design projects pretty much all the way through. So my main gig is from the minute we close on a house to the minute that we go live on Airbnb, it's really just managing that. And I think one of the coolest parts of it is it's all from my laptop. So I've hardly ever visited these properties, maybe once or twice over the last year. And I've about to finish my 30th renovation project in the last like 15 months.
I think that's great. I texted you. I was like, bro, how do you do it? 'Cause
Crazy.
even doing like one by like project managing. I mean, I try to do like one at a time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to me, I'm like, fuck, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not actually at the property, so
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, there's pros and cons. Well, we can dig into it, but yeah, there's definitely some benefits. There's a little bit less stress, in my opinion, involved when you're just doing it from your laptop. You really have to rely on like your boots on the ground in the particular market, but it's nice being able to build out relationships with folks as well.
if it's for a fund, are you less? Because for me, it's like mortgage payments coming due. Like this thing's gotta start making money. You know, like all right, I'm buying a ticket, I'm flying there. Like I walk into, I'm like, what? This thing's over here. This thing's over here. Like. What the hell's going on? Like I call up every dude I can find and get him in the house. Let's get this, you know, like.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, I think the biggest thing is timeline is like what you're like talking about in terms of like those holding costs that are involved. And there's definitely some room for error, which also the company that I work for also is, you know, I think built in understanding a little bit more over the last year of like, hey, we're not there in the market doing this. I'm not at the property. I can't really make things go quicker. You know, being that
Can't
person
yell at
there.
your furniture assembler.
Exactly. So
how does it take you 5 hours to put together a freaking TV console?
Yeah. So there's some room for, you know, those like buffer periods. I think if I was there in person, they would be able to be completed a little bit quicker, but you just have to, you know, instead of being there, do the due diligence from, you know, FaceTime video calls, stuff like that. Really need trustworthy people.
Got it. Well, I think it's really cool. Yeah, I feel like in this room, I ask a lot of questions to the folk here. I haven't asked you questions yet, but I've got plenty coming for you. But you know, that's why I'm so excited for today. But I think what we should do first, I know this is stealing from Sarah's playbook, so I'm sorry, but like, let's say, you know, there's the good aspects of everything going on, but let's start with the not so good. You know, let's give some horror stories. I know, Federico. I know you.
Oh man,
I don't mean to pick on you first, but you're.
No, that's fine. It's just that at this point, it's like we became like so used to things from time to time going wrong that it's like, okay, this is not that bad for us. And then you talk to other people and it's like, oh, if that happened to me, I'll go crazy.
Yeah.
Right? But I mean, we can
don't sweat it.
The other day, one of the properties, like the septic tank.
Oh yeah.
It was like property first day in upstate New York, beautiful house, everything's going great. Guess the morning that guests are checking out, they reach out and say, hey, by the way, there's an alarm going off in the basement. We don't know where it's coming from. We think, okay, maybe it's a smoke detector or the CO detector. Do you want to check that? No, it's coming from another place. Okay, well, we're gonna check when our cleaners arrive. Hey guys, like the basement bathroom is flooded.
From the septic or from like the well?
Oh, just
at the moment we had no idea.
You could probably tell by the color of the water.
Yeah.
Send pictures.
Send pictures. So we say, okay, we have someone to send, so we're gonna send someone because we had to check in. Guests arriving, $6,000 booking, so we didn't want to lose that. So immediately I reached out to the guests and I told them, listen, just to let you know, we have this going on. We're working on resolve it right now. I'll keep you posted. I don't want to leave it, push it to the last minute to see if we can solve it and then tell them when they're 5 minutes away.
Yep.
We sent a plumber, so there are problems with the toilet, but then we still can't figure out the alarm. Long story short, so we had to cancel the stay. This was the septic pump that was pushing the water to the city.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it took us like 3-4 days to fix it because we're having different people coming from the septic company, from the plumber, from the owner, and then it was like, okay, the owner was like, okay, let me find someone else, send someone from my crew. We tell that to the guys that we have working there. It's like, you're doing a mistake. He got mad at us, and then that guy had to end up finishing the job because the owner didn't find anyone else. Yeah. So burning bridges is like, no, we want to keep the relationship. So like that, yeah.
Got it.
A recent one.
So of course, it's the first day.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like you come out the gate swinging, just wanting everything to go right. First day, septic
Well,
issue.
I feel like it's natural.
Really.
So was it prior to that? Was at the end of the first day?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was for the second. I think that's often what you find is the first time. A lot of these houses, and I know I mean, honestly, probably all of our portfolios, like mostly, more vacation houses that really like nobody has lived there for a long time, which is like why we're able to get deals on them is because, they smell bad when you walk in and tour them. Like they're dilapidated.
What do you mean?
Never smelled it.
Yours smell good.
They smell like the sulfur or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And that's why
Sulfur.
people don't buy them. And that's why you can get deals is because but they haven't been used. And, you can kind of, we paint on top of everything, but stuff like the septic and the wells and all that, like you can't really paint on top of it.
Also, Madi, like any new investment, you need to put in the contract that after the property is ready, we're going to throw a ranger all together for 3 days. Use all the toilets. Make sure it works.
Yeah. It was one of those things too where we didn't know what alarm they were talking about because it was up in the corner and they had put tape over it.
The previous
So I was
homeowner,
like, it must be a light switch for something that has to stay on in the house. So we had no idea what it was. And then they were so adamant that we were on city sewage. So no mention of a septic pump or anything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like the previous owner or the owner? Like, that's a disclosure. That's
sellers.
like a closing disclosure.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's literally supposed to be in that document. You got to check which
but
one it is.
It is on city, but it still has a septic system.
It's a tricky...
Because it has to go uphill.
Yes.
So the toilet is here, and then the pump is here with the city stuff. So it has to pump the stuff into
it was mostly like a pump issue. This is I think a good point too. It's like when you're working with investors too, like this is their first time especially buying an Airbnb property, they should absolutely be doing every last bit of due diligence prior to closing on that. And this was a problem that probably could have been figured out before he closed on the property. But I mean, this is why this homeowner, the investor that Maddie's working with, was, he wasn't really upset about the situation because he's honestly like, this was my bad situation. And so we were just there to facilitate the issue.
But I talked to the septic guy and I was like, is there any way we could have known? Like, is there something I should have done to like been aware of this? And he said a good home inspector would have caught it because in the electrical panel, there was a spot labeled for septic pump. So he was like, had you had a really good home inspector, they probably would have noticed that there was a pump and then they would have recommended the septic inspection.
Like the additional pressure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That we didn't get either.
Yes.
We both had septic issues.
In my house, like my first property that I purchased also had like, from now on, it's like, I'm going to do all the inspections.
Everything.
Yeah.
Chimneys, bugs, structural, septic, well.
As you can tell, we can go on and on about septic.
Yeah, septic. I pump those suckers all the time. I was like, any potential septic, pump it. Pump it.
Yeah.
Get everything out of it.
Fresh.
After high season, it'll be like 6 months after we pumped it, and we're like, no. So like these houses are used to having like 2 people in there all summer long, and you max it out every single day with 10 to 12 people. Like
pump it.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like there's an issue. All right, come over, pump it.
Literally.
Oh, the issue went away. All right, cool.
Yeah.
I don't need to know what the actual issue was as long as we've got.
That's for a later problem.
But it's our next story.
Which one do you want to tell? Because we have shared stories, so it's like
you pick whatever because I can pick from whatever.
Which one?
The one with the homeless guy.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh my God.
This one makes us look so bad, but there's something we could have done.
Yeah.
So, at our arbitrage units in San Diego, they're in a really good location, but they're downtown. So it's like noisy. There's some homeless people. It's just stuff you deal with being downtown. And we had a guest check in and she sent us a photo of the bed. And she was like, I don't know if the cleaners actually came because like the sheets were folded over and the pillows were flat. Like it looked like someone had just stood up and walked out and like just slept in the bed. And we were like, no, they came, but it was the day before. So there was a night open that like, I don't know. We were like, maybe they didn't clean, but they swore they cleaned. And she was okay with it. She was like, it's fine. I'll still stay. Like, not a huge deal as long as your shirt was clean. And we're like, yeah, we're sure. And then she's sitting in the living room and you can see like a back door from the couch and a guy walks in and he was like, what are you doing in here? Like, I slept here last night. A homeless guy says this to our current guest.
Oh, goodness.
And she tells us this. She calls me and she tells me this. I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? Like, are you safe? Is it like, what are we going to do? Let's get you out of there. And she's like, no, I really want to stay. Like, please let me stay. And we were like, it's up to you. I mean, if you're comfortable staying, like, I'm not going to kick you out.
Yeah.
And then he came back again.
Yeah.
And she's just fine with it.
She just kept telling me to get away.
Yeah, she's like, I love it here.
here.
She's like, this is the best Airbnb I've ever stayed at. And we were like,
respect.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Like,
You're like, what?
This isn't a horror story. It's like a guest dream.
I know.
It sounds like you had the best guest
so
ever.
A new category on Airbnb.
But we were like, how did we let this happen? Like,
I'll give her a discount. Like,
right?
Yeah.
And then we went to meet her, and it was one of those situations where she had been kicked out of her previous Airbnb. So Airbnb paid for her to stay in ours.
Mhm.
And she was just crazy town.
Yeah.
Crazy town.
Just as crazy as the homeless person.
Oh, yeah,
Just
she's
as
like, this
crazy.
Oh, I
is
thought you
chill.
said she
Yeah.
was like imagining the homeless person.
Oh,
like she was.
That's
No.
Oh, I think the reason we actually found out she wasn't lying was we were actually living in San Diego at this point, and I think I went by the next day and I saw the homeless guy just
came
like
by
chilling
again.
around there, and eventually he like just left. But I think that's what verified. I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely the guy
Yeah.
who's like trying to get in like our courtyard again. I'm like,
He came up to Skyler and he was like, "That's my friend's house. Like, can I go?" And we
No.
were like, "That is not your friend's house.
Certainly not.
That's our business."
Yeah.
please,
yeah.
please.
She ended up like
Here's
deep
$40.
cleaning.
Get out of
Literally.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She cleaned all our ceiling fans. She was like cleaning the actual ceiling of the Airbnb when we like went to go like check in on her.
Yeah.
So I think like crazy attracts crazy.
For
like
sure.
that wouldn't have happened to like one of our normal guests. It was just like when it rains and storms with these crazy situations.
That's crazy.
That
Yeah.
story is one of my favorites.
So a
though.
homeless man spent the night in our Airbnb and didn't take anything either. Like he truly just slept in the bed and then left.
Left.
You
Gotcha.
just provide that good of an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't be
He
making
couldn't
credit.
resist.
Your guest literally is so thankful that they are literally gonna clean your ceilings.
Oh,
Did
it's
you
Can't
leave a
say I have
review?
that.
Yeah.
did she leave a review?
No, the homeless guy.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's so
5
funny.
star.
Yeah.
He
4
leaves a little
star.
tip for the
Homeless fans say,
cleaners.
"Hey, can I have your computer? Let me."
Yeah.
I really.
A few suggestions.
Yeah.
Maybe lock your door and don't allow someone
Yeah.
to break in.
Exactly.
Not enough snacks in the fridge.
Yeah, I'll go quickly. I mean, yeah. So most recent, like Federico, I feel like I have so many that it's just like I gotta think last week, the week before. But yeah, most recent would have been had like a refugee family, like families stay at one of the properties, and cleaners came at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., whatever, when they were supposed to go, and they were not leaving. They were not going. They were all in their pajamas.
Oh.
They were like laughing at the cleaners. Like cleaners like sent like photos of them just being like to like our cleaners.
Oh my God.
And I called the what's like a refugee agency. It was like a religious, group, and I called them. I was like, yo, they gotta go. We got folk coming at 4 p.m.
Yeah.
And they were so apologetic because they need to work with folk like us, who provide housing for their clients is what they
Mhm.
call them. So they just called them a bunch of Ubers and literally like had someone come like make them leave. So that was like last week.
Oh my god.
Honestly, it wasn't bad. I charged like $1,000 late
Nice.
cleaning fee, and they paid it to me. I was like, damn, I could have gone up from that probably.
Yeah.
I had to tell the next guest who was staying for a month, like, yo, can you come? Like, sorry, it's gonna be like 8 p.m. because they also I mean, they didn't do damage, but they like there was crud everywhere.
Mm.
So yeah, that was. And then like a couple weeks ago, I had a guest who there was a dog. So we have like 3 apartments like right next to each other, and there was a dog barking. Like one of the guest dogs just wouldn't stop barking, I guess. So like another guest took it upon themselves to like literally like break down the door, and like they didn't like do anything to the dog. I think they just like scared it somehow to stop barking. They literally
Oh my
like
gosh.
broke in the door, they broke in the window, and it's like these guests, like honestly, like they were like, I don't want to like make it. I was assuming there. I was like thinking in my mind, like guests broke into the door, they broke
Yeah.
down. They must be like younger, more like
Yeah.
whatever. I was coming to my own conclusion.
Reckless.
Yeah, but there was like they were like a grandpa like dropping. They're like going to town to see their grandkids at like Duke University. Like they
Oh
were
my God.
Like on
very
the side breaking into
like
things.
affluent, like an
Yeah.
affluent family, and yeah, same thing. Charge them like whatever $1,000,
Yeah.
and they paid it instantaneously.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean,
You made money for both situations.
yeah. So is this a horror story?
Yeah.
Again, these horror
Yeah.
stories are
I
like
know, they're not
dream
so bad.
situations.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just something to a positive experience. You
Yeah.
can charge
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
stressful in the moment. Like your nervous system definitely reacts, but it always works out.
Yeah, and luckily it was Verbo guests who got broken into because they were like, "Hey, someone broke into here," and we're like, "Oh crap!" Like someone
Oh,
broke
yeah.
in. But then we look at the cameras. It's like, wait, it was literally a guest in another apartment who broke in. Like, is that
Mhm.
good or bad?
Right.
It might be bad, but it was Verbo, so it's not the whole
That's
Airbnb like
Taking you down,
taking you
unlisting
down.
you.
Yeah, taking like 10 phone calls just to. Be your turn, Sarah.
I've been thinking of what horror story I want to share. I'll share one of my favorites though. This was probably 6 months ago, maybe, at one of our lake houses. So weed is obviously legal in Michigan, and
obvious. Why is it so obvious? I didn't know this. But
news to you all. But and so we have a family arrive at the lake house, and they don't arrive until like 9:30 at night. So it's already dark outside. We see them come on the cameras. They have one small dog with them, so it's like mom, dad, 3 kids, small dog, and they're there for like 45 minutes, and all of a sudden we get a message from them, and they're like, our dog consumed something in your house. It's acting funny. We had to immediately rush to the vet. We're expecting you guys to compensate us for this vet bill, like so on and so forth. Like, we don't know what's wrong. And so I'm like, what could possibly, like, what is a dog going to consume after it's been professionally cleaned that's going to land this dog in a hospital situation? And so we just like wait, you know, and we look at the cameras and you can see like they're all rushing out, like the mom is holding the dog, like everybody's panicked. And I'm like, what in the world? And so a couple hours later, they message us again and they're like, the vet let us know that our dog must have found an edible on the ground and ate the edible. And so they were like, we do not consume marijuana at all. That is not, you know, our family's thing. Like this is something that was in the Airbnb already. This is your fault, yada yada. And I'm like, what? Like, there's no way that we missed an edible, but like maybe, who knows? And so,
leave the brownie in the fridge.
And it's like when you're a host, you get
cleaners, throw everything out.
Yeah.
Throw everything out.
Yeah,
I don't care what. It doesn't matter what a damn like. Oh, so
Okay,
nice.
it's
It's a bottle of champagne. No alcohol.
Yeah.
No alcohol.
Take it
What?
away. And so I was like, you know, you get jaded as a host after a while because you see so many horror stories about people lying to like get refunds, so on and so forth. And so
that's a unique one.
and so I was like, well, maybe like, you know, maybe their kids had it and
like
their kids don't want to like tell the parents, and they were like eating edibles to like hide that they were getting high or on this family vacation. Like, I get it. And so I was like,
I've been there.
done that. Like, and so I'm like trying to like determine whether it's justified for us to give them a refund or not, right? Like, because we had it cleaned, we have recordings of it being cleaned, so on and so forth. So I decided to reach out to the previous guest, and I was like, look, you are not in any way in any trouble. You absolutely are allowed to smoke on our property or eat marijuana on our property, like totally fine with it, but I just want to know if you guys had edibles. And the guest responds immediately, and she's like, yes, we did.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh no. It was our fault. So we ended up refunding the guest because they didn't come back to the property. She was like, I'm worried that my dog is going to find another edible. And so we ended up having to refund that guest. We did not make any money on that situation, but their dog survived. It just took a long nap, and we moved on. So.
Actually, think about it. Yeah, one of literally probably most recent guests who checked in like yesterday. They were like, "Hey, it smells like weed in one of the bedrooms," and our cleaner had sent us a picture of like a J in a toilet, and I was like, "Can you get the smell gone in the next 6 hours? Like, do I have to get like a smoke remediation service?" And she was like, "Yeah, we can do it." And I was like, "All right, sweet." And then, nope, never mind.
Still smell it.
But they were cool. They were like, "Oh, we just fortunate having a bunch of bedrooms." They were like, "We'll just use other bedrooms." Like just an FYI.
Yeah. You always hope that the guests are going to be cool in situations.
Most guests, but it's a game of percentages, unfortunately.
Literally. This is one that Maddie and I have told a bunch, but if you haven't heard it yet.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, we had a house in Big Bear, California. It was like our first we actually did like a live-in flip, and since have sold the property about a year ago now, but. We just it's a single family home, but we kind of turned it into like a makeshift like duplex to run it as 2 separate units on Airbnb. And we had gotten the first unit all done. And we've had our first guest check in. Maddie and I took a trip down to San Diego for the weekend, and we get a call at like 9:00 at night. The guests had like gone to dinner, came back, and they called us and they're like, "Hey, we just got back from dinner and your entire unit is flooded. Completely flooded." That we had kind of looked at the weather. There was like some rain happening, so we're like, oh dang, okay. So we drove back up to Big Bear that night. They checked out. We get there and it's just like you walk in, and it had carpet at the time, so just like mush. There was probably at least like 2 or 3 inches of water inside that whole unit. We had just finished this, and so had to go through the whole process. Like next day, I drive all the way back down the mountain from Big Bear, go rent like dehumidifiers. We rip up all the carpet. Maddie starts looking into like our insurance policies and stuff. It ended up being a flash flood in the neighborhood, and we didn't have flash flood insurance as a part of our homeowner's insurance. So this ended up all coming out of pocket for us, but ended up being terrible.
A lot of people in California are about to face that this week with
I know.
the first hurricane or tropical storm apparently ever to hit the western part of the U.S.
Yeah.
I'm like, how? How does that?
Our guests are reaching out because we have arbitrages in San Diego.
Yeah, we have 2 guests checking in tomorrow that are already like, hey, like just checking in, see if there's any additional information. I'm like, no.
There's no information we have that you don't have.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know the question I need to ask them.
Huh?
Do you buy the travel insurance that Airbnb offers at checkout?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So no, it's like, well, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thankfully, none of them have asked yet for like a cancel. I think one said that they might like just move their check-in date to like the next day, which I don't know how it would handle a refund of that first day or not.
So y'all aren't in Florida. You don't know how to.
Literally. Yeah.
This isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear like hurricanes.
Yeah. Last year it was like, honestly, hurricanes actually worked out pretty well because they hit other parts of the state. So it was like everyone's freaking out because they're like, we need housing because our house is. Well, I'm not, about to get hit by a hurricane.
Yeah.
And surge pricing. No, I'm just kidding. We didn't.
Yeah,
No surge.
you were like bringing them water and stuff. I remember that.
That was so last year. Sorry, I know I'm asking you guys questions, but
no.
Last year the hurricane that hit Florida, I think it was Ian. Was it Ian?
I think so.
Yeah. Ian, it hit the western part. So fortunately, like we have 2 in like West Palm, which is on the east side. So I say West Palm, east side. Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse anyone there. But it hit like the Tampa, St. Pete side. Okay. But we got like tornadoes. But still a lot of people coming from that area like needed housing. So they stayed with us. And it was actually really nice because, it was a sad experience, but they were really thankful because, they needed housing. So it felt. But then that hurricane went up to the Smoky Mountains, where have properties in the Smokies, caused power outages everywhere and a bunch of mayhem. Then whooped it over to like central North Carolina, where have the rest of the portfolio, and literally had power outages at like every house. And I happened to be in town, which I normally am not in town. I happened to be there, so I was like, guess I'm just gonna bring everybody. Like I was actually at a wedding there. So I just like brought everybody water.
Yeah.
Waters.
Oh my gosh.
And they were really thankful. So
top tier service.
Everyone was thankful, yeah. Really. And I don't think we really had to refund much or anyone, even though hurricanes literally hit every single one of our properties.
Yeah. Wow. I remember consuming that content and being like, oh, I'm so glad that's not my situation.
But isn't it crazy? Like I think we all been through a crazy experience when we launch our properties and we still are in the space and thriving, but I mean, you got a property, everything stolen when you just started, and COVID.
Oh, completely wrong.
I go with my first arbitrage. I got the Snowmageddon or whatever it was called. That winter storm in Texas that basically was a mess. Like cleaners couldn't go to the properties and everything was shut down. Yeah. I mean, you had the flash flood. And we all got like something crazy.
Your capacity just gets so much bigger though for chaos. It's like even like we've had nightmare stories this week, right? That have been like really dramatic, and we've had conversations internally where we're like, this we would used to lose sleep over. Like we would be like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the thing that crushes my business, and now we're like, of course, but like it's just part of it. You just like get used to it. Your like stress response is not the same. You're like, okay, it's part of it.
I just thought, sorry.
It's interesting working with investors because they're very fearful of those things. Like they're like, what if the septic backs up? What if this
been there, done that?
And it's like I have a hard time sympathizing because it's like, we'll figure it out. Like, what do you mean? What if? Like, if that ever happens, we'll be fine.
It's almost like it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
like you have to like go into it.
It's inevitable.
Yeah, and that's something I tell a lot of people when they're asking about getting into a space. And it's like, how do you deal with this situation? What do you do if this happens? Like, well, it's gonna happen. Yeah. You need to know that sometimes it's fine to having to cancel a stay. Sometimes you may sadly ruin someone's vacation, but it's something that happens even in hotels, airlines. It's part of the industry. Yeah. But you keep after so many issues, you forget about them. Like, because now we were talking about horror stories, so now I thought about one that was really a horror story. There was a guest left like the gas open on purpose on the stove because he was pissed about something. Of course, I called it. I think they wanted to overstay, so I had to call them and get them out. And when the cleaners went inside, it was like, this smells really, really weird. No. He found the stove, like he shut the gas and then left. And of course, I called the safety team on Airbnb. It's like, you need to get these people off the platform.
Yeah, that's
bad.
That's terrifying. I saw one on TikTok where the guests plugged all the drains and left all the water running.
Oh my god!
When they checked out, so someone walked in and their whole house is just filled with water. All the faucets are on. Can you imagine?
Unfortunately, Airbnb, if they stay through Airbnb, doesn't like those stories getting out. So you
Yeah.
do have a little bit of protection with them when someone books. But if someone doesn't book through Airbnb, you know, Vrbo, for instance, I think they're, I don't know. I mean, you probably know more. Like Vrbo, they don't really care. You can't really escalate stuff with them. They just.
You have a liability insurance with them if things really go south, but you know, it has to be a big issue.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you need to make sure that people are paying for their third party.
But even their third party, it goes up to like 5,000. You know, if they pay $50, it goes to 5,000. I do a deposit, and honestly, I do like Vrbo because you can hold their deposits like no question asked.
Yeah.
Like no questions. You know, I'm not going to do that to someone who doesn't deserve it. But like, you know, a guest who last time, you know, the hot tub was supposed to be off in the summer. You're not supposed to use the hot tub. They filled it up. They turned the water. It was disgusting water. So we had to, you know, do all that jazz to it. Plus they left like all their IDs and credit cards. So our crew had to go drive over and ship. It's just, I'm not even gonna add everything up. Just $500, y'all. This was y'all were annoying. $500 and no Vrbo. 2 seconds later, accepted.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's why it's also so important that you keep all the communication in the platforms. That's a mistake that we learned the hard way, but saved us a bunch of times. Which is if you are communicating anything outside of the platform through calls, text messages, go back to the platform and put everything that was discussed, so you have proof in case that things happen.
Yep.
So you have a proof to Airbnb. Airbnb was like, hey, we had this conversation with the guest.
Yeah. Versus like sending them screenshots of text messages. They don't really.
Or if it's a call, like you have no proof.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't even like entertain texting with guests anymore. It's like if they even try and text me, or even if they call me, a lot of times, like I let the first call go to voicemail, and then like if they double call me, I'm like, okay, I'll pick up now, or I'll just immediately message them in Airbnb. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, I just finally got my virtual assistants like open phone, because I try to like, and I feel like we're probably all like you said now what you're doing versus volume, like try to like stay 5-star. Like I'm not, our properties, like they fucking crush. Yep. They're not, these cookie cutter 1-bedroom apartments that I do a zillion of them. Like each property crushes. And I always had the feeling like if I was going to offload like the phone calls to a VA, that the quality would go down. But then at that same way, I said, fuck it, I don't care. They're getting a phone number. I'm not getting texts anymore. That was like a this week thing.
Well, that's like, I know the book that I think all three of us are reading right now is the Buy Back Your Time. And I just love the part where he talks about like just the cadence of the process of like training people. It's so helpful, like taking them through, like making them videos, the checklist, like everything that he outlines in that book. I think it's just perfect for what we do in terms of especially training people to communicate with your guests. It's crucial. Yeah.
That's exactly what I do. I mean, I have a team.
Yeah, how many people you got? I mean, so how many properties are you now managing?
So right now, I went from 75 to 10 now, but scaling quickly. So I do invest a lot.
Where those 75? They're the old company?
Yeah, I'm still part of that company as owner, but in a passive role where I still like provide.
Any drama there?
What is it?
Any drama there?
No, actually it was... Luckily, like my
it's a safe zone for
no.
Partnerships. Now we're doing partnership horror stories.
Yeah.
Don't get us started.
You don't have enough time.
Yeah.
I can,
we got 2 hours. I don't know. We got plenty of time.
The real dirt.
It was hard having the conversation, but I'm glad that I had the conversation because it is a friend. Steve is a good friend. He helped me, coming to America through this company. So I'm so grateful that it's like. I think that the company that started let me achieve a lot of goals, like leaving my 9 to 5, moving to America. Okay, but I don't think that he was able to achieve some goals that he wanted, like retiring and things like that. So it's like I'm gonna step aside, focus on what I want to do, and you can run this the way that you want to run it, and hopefully achieve your goals. Everything's fine over there, but yeah, over there we have 75. It was around the number that we had. Now I'm around 10, but I'm board like this week I'm board like 5 more. So the thing that I'm very invested is into training, because that's what I did in my 9 to 5 for 10 years in the airline industry, training people around the world in the reservation offices. And just to take a call to make a booking over the phone is a month worth training. And I realized the power of training when you have a team. So all of my BAs go through a process of training. It's a 2-week program that we do where they learn all the hospitality, even if they worked at another management company, even if they work at Airbnb, I want them to understand how I like things to be done. Many times you need to do a deep programming of the communication part, and you probably, if you hire VAs, you know what I mean, which is like the conversation is very support chat. Like if you're talking to, I don't know, your bank or something like that, and you know you're being handled in the Philippines or something like that, which is, it's not that it's wrong, but it's not what I want to provide, because I don't have a property management company face on Airbnb. I keep our faces.
Yeah, as you should. They do better.
Exactly.
If otherwise, I'd probably be a little.
And it's like, how do I make it where they understand that they have to communicate, like if they were Madi or Sarah or Skyler or another one of my clients.
They need empathy.
The empathy, but also the type of words, because it's very common for them to use like, kindly let me know this, right? And those are that words.
Passive aggressive.
But they think that sounds good because that's how they talk when you learn English as a foreign language, which is how I learned English.
I have a question. Have recently you seen your VAs using ChatGPT more often?
You know, I actually encouraged to them, and I told them anything that you can use that's gonna help you on the job. I'm happy that you use it, as long as we keep the same standards.
Okay.
So if it makes it easier,
I said no ChatGPT. You're writing this stuff for yourself, using your damn fingers. None of this because you could just tell it's ChatGPT. I'm like, ChatGPT ? Like I started a screenshot and they're like, yeah, haha, and I'm like, not funny. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. If I can't tell, then it's fine.
Right.
For sure.
But if I can tell, this is obviously because also when they'll ask questions about an area, that's the issue. When like a guest will ask like, what are some things to do in the area? And then they chat GDP and it tells them like stuff that was open 5 years ago. Like, this is a very fun family activity to do. Like that's no more.
But that's
read the room.
Part.
Read the room.
How do you set up those systems so you already have something prepared for that? So
true.
We try to have like all the common questions, like I don't know, how to use a pool heater. So we already have something in there. Videos. So I try to.
You let them touch the pool heater?
Yeah.
Oh, I blocked that off. I put a fence around that with a lock. I don't. No pool equipment. 85 degrees. It's not changing.
Okay.
I'm not doing the paying more money to blast it to 100 degrees.
Well, and it'll never get to 100 degrees while they're there.
It's
like such a big pool. At Orange
no,
Cadillac,
we do tell them like the range of temperature you can use. So.
85.
Yeah.
That's where it is.
That's good advice. We were at 78 and we were getting too many complaints.
Yeah.
So. 85 is the optimal, because the people at 90, they're like, it's too hot. Like, well, it's Florida. I can't turn the sun down.
We did 78 too. That's good to know, because I googled it and it said 78. I was like, sure.
Literally
the optimal temperature. Mark my words.
Which is
Thank me
a
later.
conversation we had this week, right?
Yeah, we were just there yesterday.
What's the best temperature?
78 is like kind of chilly, right?
I don't know. We didn't get in.
Yeah.
Well, and we have
maybe upstate New York.
It's like, it seems like counterintuitive to like have a heated pool and a hot tub.
Yeah.
So I'm like, don't you want this to like
refreshing? Yeah.
It's crazy, like, because I went to Palm Springs for Christmas and I'm going again this year, and the pool was like 100 degrees. And there was a hot tub. It was like 105. I'm just like, this is absurd. I mean, I was like, I'm not paying this electric bill. I don't see any solar panels on this house. That's what they got to do there, though. That's Palm Springs. Like, they're all. And I guess next part I'm gonna get to, I feel like commonalities amongst us is like we're investing in places that there's probably less data, less competition, the Scottsdale, that Palm Springs, like those markets. If you don't have the heated pool, don't have the hot tub, don't have, the putt at this point, like you're screwed.
The lazy river in the backyard.
You're screwed. You're not winning. But in some other places, Michigan, upstate New York, like North Carolina, there's no like blueprint for what exactly you need to do to win. But I guess my question is, how are we winning? How are we all winning? Because I feel like we're still hitting home runs. Where like a lot of people you see on social media, like maybe in 2020 they actually were really good investors. And they, pretty easily hit home runs. And now maybe they're, making so much money with everything they're doing that they can spend $500,000 in cash to hit, what appears to be a home run online. But how are you doing it for investors? How are we still hitting home runs?
Yeah, I think it's for our properties that we set up for investors and our own, we're performing like 40 to 60% higher than what AirDNA told us that we would. Which is amazing, but we don't bank on that happening. So we obviously have to make sure, especially with investors, that it underwrites at whatever the actual revenue should be. and then so we can like outperform them. But I think it's all about the design and all about the photos. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And then
Design, photos.
Yeah. Once you have that, then it's like the welcome gifts and the amenities and the good customer service.
Y'all all do welcome gifts here?
I
Everyone?
do so many.
Yeah.
We do.
I do 0 welcome
Oh,
gifts.
you have to start. Well, it depends on your clientele.
Yeah.
I've got
Ours
nice
expensive.
clientele, but
Yeah. Well,
Ours
yours
are simple though. Like
Yeah.
it's not extra. Like you go above and beyond where yours is like.
Yeah.
But you're in a very bougie market,
Yes.
right? Like
Mhm.
Hudson is like perfectly curated.
It's like instead of
and-
going to the Hamptons this year, I'm gonna try
Yes.
out Hudson.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm gonna try it
Take
out.
a trip.
Whereas like
Yeah.
in lake houses, it's like the expectation is so much lower.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's like, okay, we're just gonna stock graham crackers,
Mhm.
s'mores kits, right? Or
Yep.
maybe pancake mix that's like just add water pancake mix.
But even
Yeah.
that, I mean, compared to like you see other Airbnbs and like even over the last like 5 years, a lot of those getting like, whittled out of the market. But it's just like, yeah,
Mhm.
compared to a place that doesn't even have K-cups in it and you're just providing a s'mores kit, like that's already such an elevated experience
But
that
also-
they're used to.
I mean, something that we're doing is like I'm building with my team some type of like concierge section on our internal system, which is like, okay, let's understand who's coming to our properties every time, like every stay that we have, what are they coming for, and what can we do to make it more special.
Yeah.
Which is some of the things I used in the last couple of weeks, where we had all type of things from weddings, anniversaries, like a 50-year-old wedding anniversary. It's like, okay, let's do something and let's have the cleaner, write a note or something like that with our names. We had a family that, this is a really nice story. It was a family that they reach out and they say, hey, we're 16, which is the maximum capacity, but I was wondering if we can bring another 2 kids because it's the cousins that they want to be together.
Nope, maximum capacity 16.
Hard line.
Yeah.
Right. But what she shares is like, one of my nephews is going through a heart cancer treatment,
Oh,
very
shit.
aggressive.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
like,
Alright.
of course, it can be
Yeah.
it can be 18.
Fine.
But it's like, okay, what can we make? Because it's like we want to make something special without making him feel on the spot.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, so nephews, like cousins. So we asked her, like, is there any like dietary restriction or something with the treatment? No. So we set up like a campfire kit with s'mores and popcorn. And I know when you get the review and she says like, my grandma was in tears from happiness just for that small touch. That's what I love to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I love to do. For me, I have so much joy because I know these people are gonna come back to stay with us. But that's not what we do it. But that's the ROI I'm talking about.
Yep.
When we put that
Mhm.
extra dollar.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
And I think on the like I think in our bubble we're so used to all this stuff and we're like, of course it's design and amenities. But I feel like when I started
Mhm.
posting our numbers on social media, I'm like, look how good we're doing in upstate New York. People will message me and be like, I'm gonna invest in upstate New York.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
automatically.
look,
What town
yeah.
are you in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
Oh, you're in, I don't know, damn, Hudson, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm gonna go
Hudson.
in Hudson.
Yeah, I just bought a townhouse. I
Yeah.
just bought a $1.7 million townhouse with no backyard in Hudson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
And
oh,
there's no,
why am I not getting booked?
Yeah.
Like,
they're not gonna get like if you want to invest in upstate New York and you want those numbers, you have to work with me. Like
Yeah.
I'm so confident there's no way you could go do that and like hit what we're hitting.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's years of experience, all of us
Yeah.
combined. Like,
Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
think what you were saying too, like when you first answered Jeremy's question, it's like the design and the photos, but I think even beyond that, it's more so just like the vision of a particular property, especially
Yeah.
in these markets. It's like, to your point, you can't just go buy a random townhouse in the same city. That's not how this works. It's like you have to
Mhm.
find the particular house in the particular city that works. And a lot of times, I'm not saying it's like an it factor. It's like you have it or you don't, but
it is.
ultimately you have to have that experience level to know that market well enough and to know like maybe this property that's across the street from the one that would do really well would not do well. And you
Yeah.
sometimes you really have to, just know your stuff and have that experience to be able to answer that.
Mhm.
at this point, do you guys agree or disagree that there is no market in the US where automatically you can just buy any property or rent, arbitrage for that matter, any property and you're automatically gonna win?
No.
I don't unless it's like some random ass small town that like you live in, so you know these intricacies.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's no way that we could find one. Unless
Yeah,
you happen
or
to, like, live somewhere.
it's a place like, I mean, sometimes you'll find there's a big construction going on
Yeah.
at some random place in some random area, and all these construction workers need housing for 2 years.
Mhm.
Yep.
So you can just have a vanilla house,
Yeah.
a couple blocks away from the construction house, and
Mhm.
for a couple of years, like things are really
Yeah.
good.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's definitely one-off cases of in certain times where
Like oil towns when they have of a
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah.
You come in and like provide it, and
local
then
But
insight.
you still need to understand the cost part, especially if you are doing arbitrages, because I've seen that a lot where people see that a market is performing and it's like, well, I'm gonna get in with an arbitrage, but it's like, okay, you're gonna be paying rent and your base costs are already high. So and if you also want to have a management company, you're gonna be way higher than the owner that is self-managing. So you already have to have higher rates for the beginning to break even.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people are disappointed when other people are making money and you're not, but your costs are high.
Yep.
yeah.
So
Yeah. And I think something with arbitrage in particular, I mean, I'm going to make assumptions that we're all like in agreement here that like owning long-term is the way to go.
Yeah.
Like owning unique properties that someone can't just come in and plop. Because I think the thing with arbitrage, especially, you know, people who want to get in with less money, they want to go after 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, studios. And, you know, if they do that, you get a 1 bedroom up. Sure, it costs $5,000 to get a 1 bedroom up. But, you know, the thing is, 100 other people can just come in
Rinse and repeat.
and just do,
Yeah.
you know, the same exact thing you're doing. Sure, you guys, you know, are buying off someone's furniture sheet online and, you know, you've got the property management system and the price labs, but everyone's got that.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe it works for you for 6 months, but then, the winter doesn't go as planned.
Yep.
So you truly, again, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but you got to be unique. You got to be unique. Like you got to do something someone else can't do. Like you guys just said, like upstate New York, like if you want to crush it, you got to, these are the kingpins there.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
I still think that arbitrage has a place.
Oh,
right?
for sure,
Like,
for
it's
sure.
got a place. It was the beginning of all of our journeys. It is
Absolutely.
a good stepping stone, but
For
what I
sure.
always tell people is like, you better get ready to deploy that money in something that you own.
Yeah.
Like that ship is not, it doesn't have longevity behind it. Like whether it be the landlord that's going to kick you out or the fact that it's so replicatable that it gets oversaturated or whatever the case may be, like if you're going to have arbitrage as a part of your strategy, pour it into something that you own. Like have that be a stepping stone. Because if you don't make that transition, then there is a shelf life on it. And
Yeah.
you're not going to see that.
Or I would say you need to be in a city where there is if you're going to do like the apartment game, 1, 2, you got to be in a city where there's regulation and like you're zoned the right zoning and there's some barrier to entry. That's all I'm saying is like there has to be a barrier to entry, whatever you're doing, or you're doing like a type of property. You got a big property with a big backyard. That
luxury arbitrage is a game. Like that's a play right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are crushing it.
Even like the midterm like arbitrage game in like these big cities like LA, New York, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But you're seeing that shift, right? It's like a lot of us, when we first entered this space, it was like the 1-1 arbitrage method of true like competition with hotels was working.
Oh, yeah.
And now you're seeing this divide of like either people going in the direction of midterm rentals with that style of property or into more unique stays. And so that like direct competition with hotel version of arbitrage that existed so heavily before really is like kind of fizzling out.
Yeah.
And so I
Well,
just
definitely
think
in
that's natural.
the cities where there's just no, I mean, like think about pretty much every Texas city. You know, even like Austin's getting like crushed right now. And it's, you know, Houston was like the first one where it was just literally like these negative barriers to entry.
Oh,
free for all.
Were you in Houston?
Oh yeah, I hate Houston.
Houston and
Yeah.
Dallas was
And
both of them were free for all.
I mean, I took management on a property in Houston right before that. Like, and you know, when you're not performing the numbers and you're just learning, it's like so disappointing to, you know, go to your client and say, listen, we're crushing the competition and still not making money.
It's a lots of competition.
Yeah, and the only operator now that I know that's like really excelling in Houston is arbitraging super luxurious properties. Like
It's got high barrier to entries. They're probably spending
30 to 50K.
Setting it up. Convincing the homeowner to put in a hot tub.
You have to. And at that point, you're like, you have to sign a ridiculous lease. It has to be like 3 to 5 years for you to justify that spend. But people are doing it and they're crushing at it, and it's still less expensive than buying a property. So
I think for us, it's been like a lifestyle play. Like we want a midterm rental arbitrage in LA because we want to be there for part of the year. And same with Hudson. Like the building that we rent, an entire building, it's probably worth $1.5 million. If we were to buy it in Airbnb, we would make no money. But arbitrage, it makes a lot of sense.
You rent an entire building?
Yes, because in Hudson, you can only have an Airbnb if it's on your primary residence parcel.
So you live in that
Correct.
building?
Yes,
like
they
actually,
do,
oh,
like
you
We
do?
live. We do
Yeah.
now, but our
Wink,
plan
wink.
is
Yeah.
6
Terrible.
months in a day.
Yeah.
Time.
Yeah, give it time, but 6 months in a day.
Yeah.
So it like
How
it
many other
worked out.
apartments in the building?
One.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
just
okay.
two
Yeah.
total.
It's a
So we live
duplex.
upstairs, and then the Airbnb units downstairs. But the regulations are kind of fun in Hudson. Like you can make it work for us. Like we wanted to live there,
Yeah.
and similar to like our hopeful new midterm rental in LA over the next couple months that we can get.
I'm going to LA end of month. Y'all
Oh
figure
yeah.
that
Oh,
out.
100%.
yeah.
We're
Yeah.
going, end of September. I
Yeah,
guess.
Yeah.
so I'll be there.
Yeah,
Well, I'll
but-
be there end of August.
Oh,
August.
no.
Oh, okay.
I won't be
Staying in
there.
a
I wish.
hotel.
But we'll see you in San Diego, though, right?
Yeah,
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 we're
yeah.
going to
Oh,
that
let's
after
go.
the LA
Let's
Yeah.
go.
Okay,
Fun.
yeah.
But yeah,
Is
to your
there
point
EMBs
about
in too?
the
With arbitrage.
regulation play, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
like with arbitrage and just anything, like you can almost now use it to your advantage. Like
Yeah.
in Hudson, I think our unit is luxurious, but I think also part of that is there's not a lot of options in Hudson because
Mhm.
some of the Airbnbs did get grandfathered in, but I want to say they're actually taking away those permits eventually here
They'll
too. So
expire.
the supply is going to even come further down. And since it is our, the residence that we kind of live in, it's our primary residence, we're able to still run that listing.
Quick question for you: upstate New York or the Poconos?
Depends on what type of Airbnb investor
Yeah.
you are.
I would say, I mean, this.
What do you mean by that?
This is, yeah,
Can't
this
get
could
into
be
it.
more of like a conversation
Let's
about
not
like
get into that.
even what you were saying. We kind of personally all go after markets that don't have that data necessarily to support.
Poconos got a lot of it
Poconos
now.
is the
thanks,
opposite.
Thanks to your
Exactly.
thanks
Yeah.
to your
So
colleagues.
I think that's
No.
ultimately like when you are starting to see like all this like institutional type of money come into the space, like taking over.
When he
a
says that, he
market.
says me. When
Exactly.
all my
Exactly.
yeah, he's Skyler.
Yeah.
He's part of that.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
big pharma
Yeah.
Airbnb right here.
This is why
Yeah,
we're not
just
gonna be
play
able to
my
compete.
role in this space. Yeah.
Hey, it's just a check's a check.
Yeah.
A check's a check.
But I think it's to your point. Yeah, it's like you don't even want to go look at some of the listings that these types of companies are putting out because it's like you just don't have the capital as a first time Airbnb investor to compete with something like that. So
Yeah.
why would you? Like there's other
Yeah.
markets
But
out there that you could go
that's
after.
That's the problem that a lot of people are trying to invest. They look at these markets and say, well, if so many people are making so much money,
Mhm.
I should get in that market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're crashed because
Yeah, like in the
You're-
you can't
Poconos,
compete with that.
on an
Yeah.
average like typically we're buying between 3 and 5 bedroom homes. The average renovation and furnishing price on one of those is probably around 150K, and that's
Yeah.
not even including your closing costs, down payment. That's just what we spend on like a renovation and furnishing of that
Yeah.
place. So it's like you really have to have a decent amount of capital if that's the type
And
of
that
game that
house
you
is
want to
probably
play.
costing you like
Yeah, somewhere around
400K,
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting 20% down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah. So I mean, I thankfully I'm not the wrong person to ask about like the acquisitions and stuff like that. Like I truly just play that like renovation management type role. But just even from that perspective, like you can't if you're a first time Airbnb investor and you're even a little bit skeptical, just stay out of those types of markets. Like there's
Yeah.
no point for you to try it.
I think it's interesting why institutional people go into these markets, and it's because they have so much risk playing with so much of other people's money.
Yep.
You have to go into a market where it's almost as for sure of a thing as it can be.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that
Mhm.
is the Poconos, Scottsdale, Florida, because
Yep.
there's so much data available that it's much safer for them to deploy.
Yeah. And
Even for a
it's-
lower return, it's worth it for them.
Yeah, it's
Right.
almost cool to look at now if from that side of things also is like they have so many listings in a particular market that you not only become your own competition, but you become
Cannibalize.
your own data source.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
every time now that we're looking at buying a different house in the Poconos in particular, it's like we don't even need to go look at other like listings there. We just go look at what did our portfolio do over the
Yeah,
last
you
few
don't need
months, and we
Airbnb
can now
anymore.
estimate what this new home is going to do.
Yeah,
It's pretty
cool
wild.
owning
Yeah.
your own data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
I
that's
think I was gonna say I think as like new investors and seeing institutions come in and play this game, it's like you have to go where there is a lack of data
Mhm.
if you want to have a return that's impactful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right?
Or
Like,
you got to
can't-
be the one who creates the data.
Yeah.
So then when Skyler and his cronies
Mm-hmm.
roll through and plop in 20 properties,
Yeah.
Exactly.
they're just pushing your property value to the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you sell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'll
think
say
that's-
like
Sell to them.
the lake
Yeah.
I started on, like we were like that was like the third Airbnb on the lake or something.
Mhm.
And then got TikTok,
Exactly.
posted a couple little videos here and there. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
next thing you know, there's 52.
Yeah.
But but honestly, we're still doing fine.
Mhm.
And I manage some of the other people's too.
Mhm.
But the property values at this point, like they've just completely skyrocketed. So you got to get in, you got to make money, you got to scale your portfolio, and then start talking about it.
And that's like, I feel like
Lesson
the next
learned.
conversation to have too is like in the next 5 years with all the Airbnbs and how the industry has just grown. It's like, I know people have talked about purchasing homes based off of like cap rate and not necessarily like the home's value. I actually think you had a story about this. Someone said they wanted to sell their home for like 700,000 based off of the Airbnb data, but the house was worth like 400,000.
Well, the issue with that is the banks aren't going to appraise your property.
It has to be cash.
And then you got the appraisal gap issue.
Well, that's I like your I'm not like throwing shade at your employer. I'm joking.
He's gonna listen to it. We will not name.
But like that's kind of your guys' like kind of like hypothesis is that at some point, you're going to sell them. And when you do, you're selling them to a big hedge fund or something at a cap rate.
Exactly.
Which I'd be super curious to see if that happens.
That would
be sold them at cap rates before already.
I believe so.
At the very
on like a couple like individual
properties.
But that
Poconos and Joshua Tree, they've done quite a few.
Yeah.
Because there are people who will
have cash. Like people with cash essentially, because the bank's not going to finance it.
Yeah. And if you think about like if an investor works for me, my service fee is like an appraisal gap coverage. So you could buy something turnkey and put the service fee towards that coverage instead.
Well, and I think we forget that like people have two problems in the world. It's either not enough cash or too much.
Yeah.
And so if you find someone with too much, and they can bury it in real estate and receive the tax benefits and have something that's already set up, like it makes sense for them. But
tax
for us
benefits.
On this side, we're like, why would anyone ever pay that gap?
Yeah.
But there are people out there where it makes perfect sense for them to do that.
So let's get into tax benefits. Everyone's favorite. So what I think you were the one who kind of like opened my eyes to it of like investors in your, I say Dodge Caravan, Dodge. It's like a type
Orange
of car. Cadillac. Dodge Caravan.
About the school bus.
Cadillac.
That's exactly
well,
what
like,
I'm calling it Dodge Caravan from now on.
Dodge
Caravan. It's a more luxurious
vehicle.
Sorry.
How dare you?
Your Ferrari property. Lambo. But you were like, the investors, they're real estate investors, so they already make money from their real estate and they want to offset that. And so tax advantages was like the reason they wanted to invest. I'm like, people invest for tax advantages? What are these tax advantages of real estate? Because I'm assuming, for most of us first, like it was like, we got to make money. Like we don't want jobs, we don't want normal jobs. So the first step is let's make some cash. Cash is key. And then it's like, oh, you started making cash. And it's like, wait a minute. I don't want to I paid a little bit too much last year to Uncle Sam. Oh, wait, that's why investors buy, not for cash, to pay less to Uncle Sam. Light bulb.
Yeah, I remember the employer that we've mentioned several times on this podcast. He sat with all of us, because that's how I met Madi and Skyler, right? He sat with all of us right when we all started working for this fund, and he went through like top to bottom how real estate works. And we had I personally had never had that education, right? I understood interior design, I understood Airbnb, but I didn't understand how the money moved full circle, right? All the way through. And I remember sitting on an hour call with him, and he starts going over cost segregations and bonus depreciation and investor motivations. And he just explained it in a way that was so digestible that I remember him pausing the call and him being like, Sarah, your jaw is on the floor. Like you just had a light bulb moment. And for me, I was like, that just flipped my world upside down because it helped me see what the investor was interested in. And we have such a hard time breaking from our own lens and our own motivations. And so for him to expand it in that way, I was like, oh, what if I wouldn't have had this full understanding for another 10 years, But it makes dealing with investors so much easier because you understand their motivation and it's not cash flow. Their problem is that they have too much cash and they're figuring out how to deploy it anywhere other than to the government.
If you're one of those people, please set us up.
This podcast is brought to you by
this is a call to action.
DM, click here to
but I mean,
minimum check size, 100 grand.
That is a crazy thing. I feel like the last couple of years, that's been a big realization for me is just how much money is in the world just in general, and how real estate is that perfect vehicle for those folks to just plant their money in. And how can we be the supporting cast of making it passive for them at this point. I think at least that's where I think Madi and I are like, let's put our heads down for a few more years and just like help these people, get to retirement quicker, and that'll help us get to retirement quicker as well.
Yeah.
Well, and it's really one of the only ways to turn this into like built out career, because you're going to run out of your own capital at some point, right? And then you have to like wait for your bank account to fill back up. And then it's like prolonging the life that you want to live because you can't spend the cash flow that you're making because you have to reinvest it.
Yep.
And so if you understand how to work with investors, then all of a sudden you get all of your cash flow back plus access to all of their cash. And so it's like, that's like, you have to lean into working with investors if you want to scale in this business. Like you have to understand that component.
100%.
I feel like for me, I started predominantly like working with investors. And then was like, damn, each one of these deals is kind of a lot of work. Like, I'd rather give me any debt in the world. I'd rather take it on all myself and partition it or partition the success to investors. But it's definitely, but then I also heard how you structured your deal and how I'm like, damn, maybe we can structure deals a little differently now.
I mean,
like I fucked that one up. All right.
You have to though.
It makes it worth your while. Otherwise it's just like not worth your while to do.
But I mean, for like when you're talking about how you structure it and you worked with friends and you pooled a bunch of money and everybody brought, 25, 35, 45K, like you have to have that experience at the beginning to even understand how to like make people move, right? But in an ideal case scenario, you have one investor, one boots on the ground. And it's a higher return.
And you're doing your job. They're writing the checks. They're not asking too many questions. You have your one call, you explain it, and then the money starts coming into them. They're happy. That's it. You don't need to talk on the phone every night. You don't need to. I'm looking at you. I don't know if you.
I have clients on both ends of the spectrum. Like I have one client who sent me all the money. Like I send him the design plans. He's like, perfect. Yeah, sure.
Looks
I'm like,
good.
we need this. I don't care.
KK.
And then it's all done. He's like, amazing. Like this was perfect. And that's the best kind of investor you can find, is someone who fully trusts you to just do your job. Because if they don't, it feels a lot like having a 9-to-5. Like it feels a lot like having a boss again. If you have someone who is like super, super involved in every single little detail.
And I think that's where for you goes to the property management, wanting to work with the investors who like know. And I'll speak for myself. Like I started, arbitrage property management. I was like, arbitrage, like you really just pay the landlord the money, and for the most part, that's it. Whereas like the homeowner might be a little bit more, especially if they're going to the home as like their second home. Do you have those where people actually go to them, or more just the investor clientele?
No, I had some of those, and I had some people that were able to purchase property when that was cheap at 3%, and they didn't know what to do with the property. And so, I heard that Airbnb is the best, option, and that was a struggle because like they wanted to keep all the like high margins with low investment into the property, or just because you put like $20,000 in reserves in the pool, that should be enough to cover for all the deficiencies of the property, and guests should be happy. And that became really challenging. Again, I was like having like stress attack and panic attacks almost of people reaching out for the minimum thing. I was like, no, I don't want to work with this anymore. So
he told me, he was like, I introduced that investor to him, and he's like,
damn it, Sarah.
He's like, can I let this person go? I'm like, by all means.
I won't. My feelings won't be hurt.
Not at all. Like if it's making anyone lose sleep, like if there's not synergy between you and your investor, you and your property manager, whoever the case is, it's like, it ruins the whole thing. Like,
but I think you have to go through that for multiple reasons. First of all, because that's how you get started. That's
beggars can't be choosers at the beginning. And that's what, like, honestly, I know we're all kind of like venting a little bit right now, but like, we'll all take this 1,000 times over a fucking job. Like like this is
absolutely
like humans are gonna complain about things like that's nature, but
it's a relationship game for sure.
And at the end of the day, it's like what do you do with that experience? Again, I learned that what I don't want to work with, who do I know I don't like to have as a client, and I can say, well, I want to choose who I want to work with. But in the beginning, it's like you're excited. It's like any new property that you onboard in your property management company, it's like a huge win, even if the person does not align with your vision. And I'm guessing like your first deal with investors is going to be something similar. It may be a person that is not the ideal client. It may feel like a 9-to-5 for a while, but at the end of the day, it's going to give you all the lessons and learning of how do you do the deal. And also, okay, now I know when I interview a potential client, what do I need to ask so I don't end up with the same type of client or situation. So it is a learning lesson.
Well, and I think Madi's doing something very interesting with investors, because I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you are getting into a business partnership with this investor. And so you have another hand in the pot. And like the way I structured Orange Cadillac, I am in relationship with those investors until we exit the property, right?
Yeah.
Whereas you are doing something completely different that allows you to be in and out as quickly as possible.
Yeah. It's like a test, like a trial period. Like, let's do one property together. They pay a much larger service fee because we don't keep any of the equity or the cash flow.
And it's upfront.
Yeah, and it's upfront. Well, 50% deposit, and then
relatively upfront
payments while we do the property. Yeah. But I think like our ideal scenario is we work with someone once on that larger service fee, and if it works really well, and if we all vibe together, then it's like a very long-term partnership where we do have a smaller service fee and a share in the equity and the cash flow. Because that allows us to not have to keep working forever.
Yeah.
It's like the monthly income.
And every deal is going to be different too, like based off the investors too. Like, you know, again, like going back to the conversation, some don't really even want the cash flow. So if we can maybe take a higher split of the cash flow, give them more of the equity. So I think it's, you know, if you're grouping investors together or you're working with an individual, you really have to ask them those types of questions on like what's important, what's going to get that deal done. Because we're also very flexible, I think, in those positions as of right now.
Yeah, honestly, y'all provide an awesome service. Like,
it's cool.
It is a great service.
And it works. I think the one really cool thing, especially with these initial investors, was that service fee was baked into the pro forma.
Yeah.
So it's not like, you know, the pro forma said it was going to be X cash on cash return. And then, we also have this hefty service fee that we're not counting in this. It was all baked within the pro forma. So like the service fee, yes, it was hefty, but the deal still works with that service fee included. So it's almost a no-brainer for the investor to be like, please do it for me.
We did have our minds blown the other day though when we were talking about different deal structures and we were dealing with someone who is a private money lender, and he told Madi, he was like, you know, you can keep your fee that you charge as a service fee and have equity and cash flow.
Yeah.
Like, you could do all three. Like, you're still leaving money on the table. And although that's hard to hear, like from our perspective of like the deals we've already made with partners and investors, and you're looking at it and you're like, well, now that my eyes have been open to this option, like it makes everything we've done up to this point seem like a L, you know? It's like, you know, you left money on the table.
God damn. Like,
So it's like, you have to go through those deals and just like accept that like you are paying the price of learning by like leaving money on the table. And that's okay, right? It's okay to like listen to somebody else's deal and be like, wow, that was so good. But like, wow, what did I do?
Yeah,
it's part of it.
I'm pretty sure that, you know, if you wanted to structure like that from the beginning, it may not have happened.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's literally how you learn. Like, wow, the richest people pretty much in the world are people who get given money by investors to invest on their behalf. That is, I mean, that is a fact right there. That is predominantly how people get wealthy. They aggregate other people. They get rich people. They don't get $2 from 100 people. You know, they don't pool money from a bunch of 22-year-olds like your 23-year-old, like your boy over here. They get 3 pension funds who give millions and billions of dollars. Well,
and I think there's this perception that like if you're going to raise capital, you have to have this huge network. Like the reality is like if you had 5 investors that could fund one deal a year, like you're set.
That's all you need.
You know, it's 5 relationships. Like it's not this like monstrous thing that you have to build out. It's just 1, 2, you know.
Or
so
people talk to, like investors talk. So you do well for one person. Like they go to the country club. They hit. I own a house in Smoky Mountains now. That's cool. Like
and inherently we're doing something fun that everybody is interested in.
Yeah,
you know, we have the advantage of having like that lifestyle component where like investors can either be like proud that they own this vacation home that maybe they never go to, or they're like, oh, I have this very lucrative investment that I also can go to, and they do, you know. And so I think it's just like we have their attention because it's both an investment and a lifestyle play for them.
And it's like a hot topic nowadays, or it's became a very
Airbnb investing is like the sexy option for everyone that's like not in real estate at all.
And honestly, in terms of like individual investing, there really is not like many alternatives to actually making money.
Right.
I mean, a couple years ago it was self-storage. Like that was kind of that was because everyone had all this crap during COVID, and then it's hard to make money in self-storage now. Like that door kind of closed. I mean, I looked, I was like, damn, that sounds so dope. You're like, people just got to like type in a code at a gate and they don't have to employ anybody. You don't have to clean anything. Like this sounds like a pretty, like I'm kind of looking into this. Literally. Like I'm like, wait, actually really short-term rentals is like the only way to, at least if you guys know of anything else, tell me.
No.
Yeah.
Let you know.
I'm open ears.
Yeah.
I'm being an Airbnb guru is fun, but I don't care.
Yeah.
No, it is a lot of fun. I think the only other one that I've ever looked at, like potentially leaving Airbnb for, would be buying businesses, like small businesses that are old and don't have technology and haven't been streamlined, like Cody Sanchez's model, basically.
Yeah,
you don't like
cool.
software companies?
No.
Not a big software company.
No, absolutely not.
But you know, it's funny because we've been talking about this a lot this week when we're touring properties and going to this property and this other. I was telling them this is like playing The Sims, as a grown-up version.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up playing Sims and creating like these
I know
cool
you
houses.
did too, right?
Yeah.
You play The Sims.
I was like, well, now we get to do it with
We
like.
all play The Sims. Damn, all right. Look at all these commonalities here.
Yeah, we're
It's
like
crazy.
laying by the pool while Fede does like the breezeway inspections. Like it's such a lifestyle play. It's so fun.
I remember playing The Sims, like get a cheat code to get like $1,000 more dollars.
Yes.
I would put I'd put like a stapler on top of the enter, so it would just keep give me more money. I'd come back an hour later.
Yeah, I had a jailbroken Sims game, and so I just had like, I would make like
damn, you
floating
really got all the
houses.
cheat. You got all the hacks. Damn,
I
jailbroke.
know.
I didn't think of that.
I know. So I could make like floating houses and things like that. I just
Oh,
remember being
God.
like balls to the walls in Sims.
Yeah.
Now it's our real life.
Yeah, so now let's talk about. So we know we started on the scary parts, and you know we vented a little bit about investors and stuff like that. But the lifestyle part. What are the awesome aspects of what we do for a living?
Yeah.
What do you love? What do you love?
It's just owning my own time.
Yeah.
I mean, owning my time and just whatever I want to be doing, from whatever. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that many of us, we come from this factory type of education where you go to school, college, and then 9 to 5, enjoy the weekends, and then retire, right? And actually living this lifestyle where I'm here in New York right now, enjoy with you guys while my business is running. It's just amazing. And I never thought I would be able to do that. I think there's something that for all of us at some point made a change in our brains that, okay, this could be possible and this is the life I want to live. And just being able to live that life, I feel so grateful and lucky.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. And I think it's as small as like when I wake up in the morning, if I don't feel like working that day, I don't have to.
Yeah.
And I don't have to log on to Slack and pretend I'm sick. I don't have to like do anything. I can go to Pilates at 1 p.m. and not worry about like getting an important email while I'm in class. Like I truly answer to no one. And it is so freeing. Like I haven't worked in a week because you guys are visiting. And that is like a luxury that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and even for me beyond that, because like I could echo both of those things and be like, yeah, completely resonates. But beyond that, I think that the community in short-term rentals, like the people who are doing this, all are very visionary, very aspirational, have a ideal life that they're all pursuing. But it's like put us in places that I think a lot of us are genuinely happy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't feel like as competitive as corporate America felt. It feels like when I meet people like all of you, all of a sudden I'm like, these are the friends that I wanted my entire life. Like, it's like the people that you get to build alongside, you really vibe with, And so I think that has ultimately turned into one of my favorite parts where I'm just like, the lifestyle component of like having houses is amazing. Like being able to be anywhere you want is amazing. Like the financial freedom is amazing, but also the people in the industry are dope.
Yeah. You guys are our closest friends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's so nice.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Oh, wow.
I got the chills.
Not to get all sharing, but like.
Yeah, Maddie's gonna cry in a second here.
I know when Betty was talking, I was like,
Skyler, are we also your best friends?
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I would just echo what you guys said. I mean, I think for me personally, it's just the specific idea of like only ever having worked like an in-office 9 to 5 for like a year out of college and then realizing like that is never going to be my life again is kind of just mind-boggling, because I think your point, especially with families, especially here in the United States, I think our generation of like kids, I'll call us, but getting through high school and needing to go to college and then just living that lifestyle of like 30 years working at a company, I truly, when I think about that situation, can't fathom that like that's what our parents did. Like that's what even a lot of my friends are doing now. It's like we're taking a trip with a friend in a couple weeks and he's got like 1 week of like vacation time to use and like that's his trip for the year. I'm just like I literally can't even fathom that lifestyle anymore, which I know is a very big privilege to say, but that also with all of us came with work, even just to get to the point that we're at right now.
Yeah.
You know,
And,
we are trading the 9 to 5 to work 24/7. You know,
it's not for everyone, because a lot of people like the stability of, just knowing that they clock in at this time, clock out at this time, and they go focus on what they like. So it's like, sometimes I think, like, could everyone be doing what I do? Like, is this something that everyone could be doing? And the answer is no.
No.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
not
think they
everyone.
want to.
So we do have that
Well,
mindset.
they might be able to do, if you set things up in a good way, and things for the most part can run themselves now. Like, they can maybe do that.
Yeah.
But then the
But to be in
groundwork,
it,
to require to like build that.
Yeah.
I think that starts with like the mindset. Like, I still struggle with that all the time, but I think even just taking the leap of like, this is what I'm gonna do with my back against the wall, have to just move forward in this one direction, which I think a lot of people, whether they're never put in that position or choose not to put themselves in that position, like, the mentality is where it starts with. And like, if you don't have that, you're gonna be stuck in that job forever. You know?
Yeah, I guess. Well, I feel like the lifestyle thing is something that people like portray online, and they show, they don't really show the process. They're just like, they show kind of
the result.
Yeah. Or, and then for some people, they didn't actually do the process. They just, kind of said they did the process, and then they show the result, and that allows them to, whatever. We don't have to get into that. That is annoying. But I mean, I'll say for me, I mean, like, I'm not, like, I kind of like living, like, I don't want to say like a crappy lifestyle, but like, that was something like, I feel like makes me feel like more, gritty if like my living conditions are like not great. But now you'll see,
resonates.
Yeah, you'll see. Yeah, I'll feel like more in touch with like.
Aren't we going to the Hamptons tomorrow?
Things have changed.
But y'all will see, like, my girlfriend, like, we have a really nice lifestyle now.
Yeah.
Like, y'all will see how we're living. Like, it's pretty good. Like, we're going to Positano like next month, Italy. We're going to LA. We're about to Positano. Going to Positano.
I thought that was a restaurant here in New York.
Yeah, people say, oh, Airbnbs are more expensive than hotels. I don't even want to tell you guys we're paying per night for a freaking hotel room in Positano, Italy. It's ridiculous. I mean, like, cause like,
really nice though.
Like, I just got like a really good booking at like one of our house. I was just thinking about it. I was like, got a really good booking. Like, there's a once a year or twice a year, conference in the area. So my 5-bedroom house with a pool in the backyard, heated pool, 85 degrees, got booked, $7,000 for like 6 nights. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. Mortgage is $2,700, all right.
We
but
can
then
go to Positano.
No, well, then I'm like, Positano, a hotel room, not even like the best view one, really, which is what was the only thing that was available. $2,000 a night for 7 nights.
Oh, wow.
Plus, it's like $20,000 for like a week. And that was there was no other option. It's like, damn.
Crazy.
Yeah, the time I went,
this whole hotel Airbnb thing, I don't know.
It was cheaper when I went a few years ago.
Yeah. Oh,
before COVID.
Positano or where?
Yeah. Before COVID, we went. It was like $400 a night for a place on the beach.
Oh yeah.
Did it blow up? TikTok made Positano blow up.
Yeah, it did.
We went in 2000.
Probably why I'm going. It wasn't my decision.
Yeah, we went in 2016, and I got robbed that day. It was my 21st birthday, and they took my wallet. They took my passport.
In Positano?
Yeah, in Positano.
Kate, do not. We won't go. I already paid for the hotel. We won't.
You have to.
But I was like, look, I'm in the most beautiful place I've ever seen in my life. I guess I live here now.
Yeah. I don't need physical possessions.
Yeah. But it is magical. You will love it. It's just the train ride there is a little sketch. But other than that, it's fine.
Well, we rented Ferraris.
Okay, good.
No, I'm kidding.
You rented Dodge Caravans.
Yeah. No, we rented a Ferrari for the day just to make videos and say.
That's amazing.
Funny.
Yeah. So the lifestyle is your favorite part?
No, well, I mean, the lifestyle. I mean, I would say like, I don't feel like I'm, the normal traditional of, I'm doing this so I can like chill out.
Yeah. Like,
that's just not me. Like, I don't like, I feel too comfortable. Like now, like I feel weird. Like I feel weird, like sleeping in a really nice place and having a really nice gym and having a gym in my building that no one's in. And then also having another gym next door that has a basketball court. And it's like too comfortable. But, I mean, for me, like my jobs right now is like start a software business. Like that's really hard. It's really hard to do one of those. Like they're not easy. Like they're very difficult. So that's like a kind of more akin to like a job, and like honestly like being like a producer for my girlfriend, like for what she does for a living. Like that actually to me feels like literally yesterday I spent middle of the day. I didn't wake up planning to do this. Kate's just like, like I want to. Okay, sorry. To give content, you know, my girlfriend does running interviews with like different people, and yesterday she did Vinny from the Jersey Shore.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys watch Jersey Shore.
Yes.
I told him I never watched it because I don't like to like look like I'm like I like to like if
Stan.
I'm like I don't know who you are. Like you don't want to. You don't want. Yeah. You don't.
Chill.
Yeah. No, you just don't want to like. I don't know because they get people. You know, they get annoyed a lot. But like, yeah, I filmed her and Vinny I was literally a camera guy for her and Vinny yesterday for 4 hours.
Do you have to do the camera for her every time?
No, not every time. But she wants to do YouTube now, so like she normally does it with her phone,
Right.
and that's just she can hold it.
Right.
But now trying to transition to like short form plus long form means you need a second camera.
Shooter,
because you need someone doing horizontal.
She needs an assistant runner.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe. Oh, it's actually an idea. Maybe she could do 2 cameras on her selfie stick.
Oh yeah.
Then I would.
There's got to be something made
I'm
for
sure.
that.
This is why I'm a producer.
Yeah.
That's what the ideas. I'm not a cameraman because he literally thought I was a cameraman. Like this guy.
He's like, this can't be your boyfriend. This
Yeah.
has to be an employee.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't ask any questions. He didn't.
He's like, this is chill.
He was cool though. I mean, he was cool, but I mean,
He's coming on this after us.
Yeah, I told him to because he's like, and everyone has like this, and I think like short-term rentals, you get in a good place. Like, what's next? What's next? Like everyone's always like, what's next? Like things are in a good place. Whatever. I've got my, my housing and my lifestyle covered. Like, what's next? Yeah. But for him, this guy Jersey Shore for 15 years, and he's definitely thinking like, what's next?
Yeah.
So I mean, we were telling him like, dude, do a podcast, and I was like, where he lives. Probably 4 minutes from here, 5 minutes. I was like, dude, just come down to WTF Studios and do a podcast. And he was like, well, I need like a co-host. And I was like, well, I can't help you there.
Yeah.
But
I'm busy.
Well, he wanted a girl. Well, I didn't recommend. I was just like, dude, definitely, you just come here and do a podcast. Like you're Vinny. People are gonna.
Yeah, where's Snooki? Can
she for sure.
Is she not available?
Yeah. I don't think none of them live in New York. I know it's weird. I never really. I watched like 2 episodes of Jersey Shore 15 years ago. And then Kay and I have been watching a lot recently. Well, because he ran with Vinny, and I'm like, damn, it's actually a sick show. This is so good. This is a really cool.
Is just unmatched.
Yeah, quality drama.
And like she ran with like Matt James.
Yeah.
From The Bachelor.
From The Bachelor.
Yeah.
But like that's like another reality TV like show person. She's about to.
Well, she's found a niche of community, right? It's like people love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like an interesting avenue or an interesting way to like learn about people and like a uplifting, good energy.
Yeah. Well, I remember when we were in Nashville, you were like, Kate's been trying out all these different,
I was like, we found it, we figured it out.
Well, you were like, what do you think of this video? Like one took off and I'm wondering if it'll happen again. And I remember watching it and being like, because there's that girl that does it with photography, right? Where she'll like walk into a restaurant and she'll be like, hey, like you're beautiful, I want to photograph you. And it's got kind of that same element.
I've never seen TikTok's never given that to me on the algorithm.
Yeah, and so it's like that element of like, is this like planned or is this not planned? And so Kate's got that same little twist at the beginning of her video where it's like, is this actually all random? And like after you consume her content for a while,
it was a lot. I think that was like a whole process of figuring out like what series do well. That was a job. Figuring out like, oh, these are 5 types of series. Why did they all do well?
Yeah.
Like, what were the commonalities that they shared?
Yeah.
Like, what
she's been after it for a while.
Yeah, and I think we were in Nashville. I was like, this, like, we figured it. I was like, I'm pretty calm. I was like, this is gonna work.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, it took long enough, but like, figured it out. I think we did. Yeah. And then I think I showed you literally because the idea or whatever was like the day before I flew to Nashville.
Yeah.
And I think filmed the first one the first day in Nashville.
Yeah.
And I think I showed you at dinner. I was like, this is gonna work.
Yeah.
Yeah. It worked.
I guarantee it.
So you brought up what's next. What's next for you?
I'm asking you guys, what's next for all y'all? That's my bad. I didn't mean to start talking so much.
That was great.
What's next, Sarah?
Ooh, on the spot. Wow, what's next?
What can folk be expecting from you?
Yeah. I mean, one, it's so exciting because it's starting to feel like we have unlimited options, right? Like all of a sudden we're like,
too many options.
Yeah, which is a struggle by itself.
Glass half empty.
Yeah, and we know we want to be in the space, right? And so it's like kind of understanding where the space is going and then also where we're most passionate.
Yeah.
And so for me, you know, with the rinse and repeat lake house model that we've done now 4 times is, you know, put cash flow in our pocket.
All of a sudden, everybody on that lake, there's 1,000 Airbnbs on the lake now.
Yeah, they ain't making anything like we're making. It's fine.
Come at us.
Yeah. Try.
Sarah, I bought a house on the same lake.
Yeah, I'm like, it's fine.
Why isn't it making half as much as you?
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah.
You don't got the it factor.
You can join the mentorship.
Yeah,
hear about it.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately
I'll send you an invoice and then you can
send you a bill first for the secrets. But now I think I have a little bit of an itch to do ground up. I think I would like to
build.
Yeah, I think I would like
that.
retreat centers or like a bunch of tiny homes or something along those lines. But my biggest thing is I don't want it to feel like a copy paste. Like I don't want to take what somebody else has done and just do it in a new location, which is
under the canvas. You're not under the canvas in Michigan.
Right. Like I love the concept, but I want it to be like one of one, you know, and but have it be able to be repeated.
I will say, have you seen the one that I'm like very envious of that I want to do, and I've been trying to kind of, it's really hard to find a property where you can do this, is it's in Texas. It's like this Scandinavian homes
on the pond.
Yeah, he built the pond. He put the
in
pool.
Waco.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great what the guy did over there.
And like, well, for me, like also the geography is, I mean, most of my stuff's in North Carolina. Like the Texas, North Carolina geography is kind of similar, and I'm just like, I want to do that. I'm copy pasting that shit. I don't care.
Which is a great strategy.
I'm digging a pond.
Really cool.
Give me an excavator. I will go out there. I'll fucking dig a pond.
Yeah. But I think that that's a natural progression, right? And a lot of people that get into the space, it's like you have to have that conversation around, okay, I understand you want to do X, but maybe we have to do Y first to take care of like putting food on your table and introducing you to the space and getting familiar with real estate. And so it's just such a bigger bite to think about ground up development and like rinsing and repeating one like boutique style experience. And so you're really going all in on something that doesn't have as much data, that you're like spending a ton more time on, so you're not going to see that cash flow for maybe a year or 2 years as opposed to like 3 months in. But now that we're at that point, I'm like, okay, like food on the table is taken care of, like the income's stabilized, like now I've got some time freedom.
Let's do a bigger something.
Like
something bigger.
Yeah. So
level up.
Yeah, I think I want like a true hotel brand that we can like rinse and repeat going forward, which seems crazy to say. Like I never thought in my life it would be feasible to like think about building a hotel, you know, or building an experience. But
some also, well, for you in Michigan, not that you're only doing stuff in Michigan, but like the Ohio, there's the Bali. Have you seen like the ball?
Hills, yeah.
And I'm like, I want to go to Bali just so I can like.
Hocking Hills area in Ohio is insane.
Is it like the geography is actually cool, or just what they're doing with the Bali inspired? And just for context, what's it called?
I don't know what it's called.
Hocking Hills.
Hocking Hills is the area that draws everyone to Ohio, but you've seen a ton of like architects and developers come in and do really unique things around Hocking Hills.
Somehow they have like semi-natural like pool waterfall things.
It's like almost looks like a swimming hole in like your backyard.
Yeah.
Is that a thing in Hocking Hills, or do they build those?
That's a good question. I haven't looked
into.
I've only seen.
There's a lot of rocks there, I guess.
Yeah.
The rocks are cool. Rocks are cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find North Carolina like a property that just has like rocks, like big, like tall rocks. That's not that rocks. The Northeast has a lot of rocks.
Well, and like the Midwest doesn't really, but Hocking Hills, Ohio
has a bunch of big rocks.
Yeah, it does. But we stayed at a property called The Ledge there, and so it's not the property that you were talking about where you've got like the pool and like, you know, it's all over Instagram right now, but The Ledge as well, it's a piece of property that they built several new builds on. I think there's 3 that are already up, but in the backyard there are all of the waterfalls, and so you get to like listen to the water all the time, but it's like you have to find that land, and then developing that land is like impossible because it's already, you know, you're dealing with rocks and water and like, you know,
it's hard terrain.
It's its own game, definitely its own.
Yeah. So I just don't know anything about like purchasing land, walking through it, like ground up construction in that way, and so it's like a much bigger bite. But I want to do like that's where my brain is. So that's where I think we're headed.
Have you looked at all at internet? Because I feel like the numbers in the U.S. I mean, I'll just say this for myself, like my quote unquote like buy box for the last like 3 years. Yes, I've, you know, done arbitrage. Yes, I've done co-hosting, but like predominantly have been focused on a $500K house that can make me $100,000. Like that's pretty much what I've done. Like maybe it's a $430K house that can make 95. Like, but roughly there. Yeah. Like in the US, you know, that equation is kind of like it's getting a little bit more difficult. I just did it. Like I'm not gonna say can't do it, but it's like before it was really fucking easy. Yeah. Now it's but like you look at Europe and like abroad, there's the inefficiency there is huge. They don't got folk like us who are just finding all the fucking taking up the Poconos and
literally
dropping 3,000 Airbnbs.
Yeah.
But what do you got? What do you got? Have you guys looked international at all, or is that something y'all are thinking about? Maybe you are international.
I am. Yeah, I have my condo in Argentina that I'm renting. It's doing very well. Yeah, probably up.
Let's talk after this. How's Argentina?
Screwed up, but it's a nice place.
But you know some guys.
Oh yeah,
that's huge. In foreign countries, you gotta.
Yeah, and I have a house in Spain coming up that is from my father-in-law that we just found out that finally he was able to get a squatter out, and it's in the Mediterranean, nice area. We just need to go there and do some work. But so yeah, Spain, Argentina, the US, who knows? What's next?
Do you see do you run the numbers on foreign opportunities?
Yeah, but the thing is that it really depends on the area, but in foreign countries, there you have huge seasonalities, which is
huge
seasonalities.
Oh yeah,
which is something you also have here in some markets, but like Spain or the Mediterranean, you have a lot of people like June till August.
Everybody's going to Europe in the summer.
Yeah, and that's
why I'm paying $2,000 a month and freaking night and put pastana.
But not only have like you tourists from Europe, from United States, but you also have like the snowbirds from Europe, so from England, Germany, the Scandinavia, going south.
So you're calling Spain the Florida of Europe?
Exactly, it is. Yeah. So then but in winter it gets really cold. So that's what sometimes you have like retirees that they're leaving those countries just to spend a few months and so that's not that cold, but again, it's not when you're gonna make a lot of money.
Yep.
So that's a factor to consider.
What about like Barcelona or like a city?
Oh, those places are super regulated, so it's not that simple.
So cities in Europe are regulated. Very regulated.
Europe, I have another mentality, so it's not that.
South America? Question mark.
It depends on the country. The problem that you have with this country is that like you have a lot of regulations. Things are slower to do business. It's way slower to do business. That's something we talk a lot with Sarah. Coming from another country, you don't realize the opportunities you have in America to do business, access to credit, and the speed to set up something. So when you go to all these countries, unless you come with a lot of cash, it's really slow to do.
Is it hard to get contractors to like because what's the middle of the day that you do in Spain? Siesta.
Yeah, but it's not only that. Getting permits in some countries is stupid. You have to have like thousands of permits, and some countries you really need to bribe people to get. Not have done it.
See, that's what I want to find a country where you could just bribe people and just get things done, and then you could just do you want to come? Hey, America's a little more difficult. Do you want to have a sick ass Bali inspired house in Bali or in another country? Like I've got you. And you got to bribe someone, but that's part of it. I'll tell you who to bribe. Like,
but I think when we've looked at,
it is what it is.
When we've looked at international markets and when we've talked to like you or our friends who have property in Mexico on Airbnb, the biggest difference is the financing, right? Oh, yeah. You have to go in with 100% of the cash to purchase the property.
Literally the bills. So I always tell the story when we bought the condo in Argentina, we had to count $250,000 in the table in cash. Like you're feeling a Narcos episode.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Drug dealing. Yeah. So and you all like you spray it down in the table and everyone's counting and okay, here's 1,000 and 1,000 and you stack it and it's crazy.
And so you guys like put it in your socks and like your.
So we have to go to the bank.
They're like you're $10,000 short and you're like no I'm not. We just counted and then they pull out the pistol.
And that's when it gets fun.
You're like oh shit all right.
Yeah, so again, doing business in America is so simple, so easy, so great. And that's why you have a lot of people coming here to do business. So actually something where you need to look at is people that have money in those countries where they cannot
helping them invest in the US.
Which is something I'm trying to do. Exactly. Because I'm telling you, I come here and a lot of people start to reach out. It's like, hey man, I know you're doing real estate in the United States. How can I be part of that?
Yeah. How do you invest as someone from a foreign country?
So the cash on cash dies there.
Yeah.
You're not getting cash.
It's literal cash on cash.
Yeah, there is no, and like people in America are like, 20% is so hard to get, but it's like anywhere else you're gonna have to pay 100%. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame.
So I think I asked you, I guess, what's next, or have we? I guess we'll go around the circle. I can't.
Yeah, I answered that. All of you have to answer it now.
Yeah, I mean, Maddie might have a different answer than me, but I think
this will be awkward.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Maddie, please leave the room. We'll have you come back in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I feel like because Maddie and I have some shared, work right now, but we do kind of like work separately, both in the short-term rental space. But I don't know. I feel like for me, just the last year of learning how to do this like renovation project management, I feel like it can also be used on just non-short-term rental related real estate as well. So
you want to do bigger things too?
Yes. I mean, I would love to.
Damn, looks like we're all doing bigger things.
Literally.
Gotta level up.
Hey, we'll come over this afternoon. Let's get the whiteboard out.
Exactly.
Let's find some Hawken Hills.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just, gaining relationships with contractors, just learning more about, the ins and outs of just how like a home operates and how it needs to be renovated to look really nice. I think it's just a skill set I would like to start applying even to like just properties that we buy, and whether we flip it, sell it, rent it. Maybe these houses are in short-term rental friendly places. So kind of continuously just working on what I'm doing now, but just continuously doing more and more. I think in the next like month, we're going to hit 50 short-term rental properties that Maddie and I combined have worked on over the last like 3 years. Yeah. So would love to, get to 100 at some point. And then also, I think in addition to that, just start doing some of our own flips on properties as well. I think I would be really excited for.
Because your skill set doing this project.
He's already doing that.
Yeah.
He does it every day. And
yes.
He does 8 to 12 at a time. Can you imagine if we just did 8 to 12 of our own flips at a time?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And it, like, flipping a property is 50%, not even.
And this is what I always say is like, so my job is not just the renovation part, but it's also, managing the designer through the process, managing the furniture showing up at the house, managing the furniture getting built. So I'm thinking of this in a scenario of seeing some of these houses that have been purchased and been flipped right before we purchased and see that profit margin. I'm just like, so I could do half my job and make 18 times more what I'm making.
No furniture was involved in that process. All right, they painted. They paint the whole house.
Yeah, and I
just tell them paint the whole house.
Yeah, and that is a market I think that people haven't really thought about, is flipping homes in short-term rental friendly places and then just selling that house to someone looking to start their first short-term rental.
You put the fire pit in the backyard for them?
Literally. Just do like the simple, interior paint, interior flooring, spruce up the kitchen, bathrooms, get it pretty much rental ready for someone to just move in, furnish it.
Put a new fence on the outside.
Exactly. Yep.
Put in a fire pit.
And there's a few people, like we've been talking about the Poconos. I mean, there's one guy in particular that I know that, I mean, I'm not kidding when I'm telling you he's making about $200,000 to $300,000 profit every time he does this. And all he's doing is buying shitty, distressed houses, flipping them, and then selling them to institutional investors that want to get into that market. He's making bank.
Flooring, paint, bathrooms, kitchen.
Yeah. Done.
And
200,
300 with the regulation.
Yeah. Like the last one that I looked at, like the Zillow listing that we purchased, was I think he bought it for $170 and then ended up selling it for $595. And I mean, I now have a rough, understanding.
Big shitty house.
Yeah, like 4-bedroom house. I mean, 2,000 square foot. So nothing crazy, but like, I mean, understanding a little bit of the numbers of, renovation project management in the Poconos, I'm thinking this guy probably put $100K into this. So I mean, that's what I think. When I see that, I'm like, okay, so he's doing half my job and making that much more. So it's like,
Go back to that knowledge thing. Where
exactly.
Like, it makes every deal that you've done up to this point less exciting.
Literally.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do our own episode that's just how do you project man. I mean, I'm curious. First thing you do, Ring cameras.
Sometimes, yeah. So this is all the buffer thing with doing it from my laptop. It's like in the markets that I'm comfortable with, like in the Poconos, I can get all that stuff done in a day.
A Ring camera.
Exactly. But
the code, the locks up.
100%. Yeah. Also, all of that we call like our security purchase. So it's like the Ring cameras that we always do Schlagen codes, kind of like the standard run. And then, get those up and running as quickly as possible.
Just so you can then see which contractors come. Like, are there packages here?
100%.
Are they actually working when they say that?
Yeah. And that's like the huge demand. Like when you're doing this virtually too, it's like, if you don't have a relationship with the contractor you're working with, or if it's in like a one-off market where you're working with one person one time, they have zero loyalty to go above and beyond for you. So like in a place like the Poconos, I work with maybe 3 or 4 contractors, and we've now done probably 10-ish projects with each one of those people. And the first few are always rocky, right? They're like, you want me to bring in like 18 packages that just arrived and it's not my material that I'm using. So they, you have to, preface some of these things where, hey, I'll throw you an extra couple $100 every single week if like, you make sure these packages don't get rained on or something like that. So you do have to go above and beyond with short-term rentals, especially with contractors, because I think they're just not used to the amount of attention to detail that we need to get these, up and running in a good amount of time.
Yeah.
It's fun though. Yeah, it's fun.
So flipping, flipstering,
Yes.
flipping in short-term rental friendly places and selling them to folk you potentially know or don't know, or knowing the numbers on them. So being like that first part, there's a value chain here.
100%.
And you think people doing pure short-term rentals, they're not going to flip the house. Like they're not going to they're not going to, do they knock down any structural walls or anything
Sometimes
like that?
they do. Yeah, I mean, sometimes they do. We've been adding bedrooms quite a bit, even on when I start the role of the project management of the renovation. We've been adding bedrooms quite a bit.
That means you probably just do drywall, right? You're not adding in
drywall, and the hardest part is always the permitting process. I mean, you're talking about that, but the Poconos is an interesting place because they run off townships. So depending on what township you're in, some are easy to work with, some are shitty to work with, but it's more so of the waiting period that sucks, not necessarily the work. Adding a bedroom drywall, I mean, you're talking like $1,500 or $2,000, so it's not breaking the bank by any means. But
do you want them to get technically counted as bedrooms? That's why you do it.
You have to do it though, and a lot of these places, if you don't do the permitting, they'll literally not give you your short-term rental permit until the permitting is done.
I was gonna say,
I should go backwards. We don't say
anything. And the Poconos again is interesting because you have so many different entities. It's like you have the county, you have the township, you have the city, and then oftentimes you have a gated HOA community. And most of the time, every single one of those levels, if you're adding a bedroom, needs you to fill out something. And again, this goes back to, honestly, if you're listening to this, like hire someone that knows what they're doing, because you're not only going to save money, but it's really the time aspect. Like now when we close on a home, that's the first questions I ask my team. Like, are we adding bedrooms? Are we adding a hot tub? What are we doing that needs a building or a zoning permit? Because it's not, again, the money is the money. You got to pay for these things to happen, but it's really the time commitment. It's like I've had to wait on a permit, and that being the last step of the equation. We submit a permit the first week that we close. Sometimes that could take up to like 3 to 4 months, depending on the township you're working in and how backed up they are. So you could be completely ready to have a guest, but you just can't get your short-term rental permit because you haven't gotten like your building permit through yet. So that's the shitty part. Yeah.
All right, so upstate New York and not the Poconos. Right? You answered my question. All right.
Poconos is tricky for sure, but I mean, I'm sure that's not the only market like that. I mean, we've done some building and zoning permits in upstate New York, but it really depends on, and being in person. That's also
just
what
going
I've
in
learned.
to deal with it.
Now I pay our contractors. Like I know the process to get it done, but I'm like, you guys go do it in person, build like a small, like I'm not asking you to like go buy them flowers or anything, but like chat them up
just
a little bit at the
in,
receptionist, like make sure you're being really nice, ask the right questions and just don't be rude.
What I found, with the permits, you either have to go in person or you have to get them on the phone. Otherwise they're not going to,
no email.
It's so like dealing with it in Florida. Like it is so like, technically, again, is all day, but technically with cheeky huts, you don't need a permit. If the indigenous Indians build them, they're exempt.
Oh my gosh.
But you still need like the city to like sign off on it or whatever. And like you have to fill out the application literally has like a line item for like contractor signature and contractor number. And like these Native Americans don't have contract
like the
number.
license number for
they don't have a license. So I'm like, they don't have a license number. I can't physically fill out this paper. And like 10 emails of like no help.
Nothing.
Like you have to fill it out. Eventually get on the phone. Oh yeah, just write in like Indian exempt on it. And I'm like in red. They're like in red. Write it in red. I'm like,
the things
early on to learn the process. A lot of times too, like we started working with like an attorney in the Poconos too that helps us with some of these like intricacies of even short-term rental permits can be tricky sometimes depending on the area, but that's been really helpful. But I think having the people on the ground, like me doing it virtually from my laptop, like there's just some stuff that I know now works better if I just pay an extra couple $100, have someone go into the office and it'll get taken care of that day versus what you're referring to is like emails for 3.5 weeks back and forth to get like one simple question answered.
Like literally a word.
Exactly.
Like, write this word here.
Yeah.
Like, can I just said that over email?
Literally.
But bigger projects. That's great.
Yes.
And we're definitely gonna figure out the project management stuff.
So for me, what's next? Well, keep growing with you guys. Whatever projects you have coming up. I'm starting also my education side. I'll be launching a mentorship soon, which is something I'm passionate about. I mentioned before, I did training for 10 years in the previous industry where I was working. I love sharing knowledge. I think that's something that gets me really excited. And it's going to be complementary to what you guys are sharing, because it's, one side is how you acquire a property, but then it's like, how do you run it in an efficient way and that you can scale, that you're not going to be burnt out, and all the mistakes that we already made, so you don't have to go through them again.
Yeah.
So I'll say, that, and keep growing this new management company that I'm pretty excited about, and it's happening.
So exciting.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, the one thing that you have heard none of us talk about on this podcast is property management. And it's because it's like the beast, the elephant in the room that is always so difficult to do right, especially at scale. So it's awesome that we all found you. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Well, I still managed mine, so I don't know. We'll talk later. We'll talk later.
Yeah, we were so happy to offload that. I mean, it's just like when Federico talks about switching over to this new management company that he started, it was like, it's been a long time coming. I mean, Federico and I have been able to grow parallel for the last 2.5, 3 years. And so I've been holding on to management of these Michigan properties for the last 2 years for extra cash flow, right? Because I'm like, okay, I need as many dollars. Like right now, every dollar counts. And eventually that role will reverse, but every dollar counts. And so finally, I mean, this summer, last year we 4x'd our business. So we went from 1 lake house to now we have 4 lake houses. And even though that doesn't seem like an insane jump, it's a 4x of your business. It's like if you have one problem once a week in one property, on average, all of a sudden every single week is a nightmare. And so Ethan and I, this summer, we were like just bulldozed. Like June happened and it gets busy in Michigan in June. And every single day it was like we were bringing a property to life, and then there was just chaos. Like washing machines are broken and septic systems have issues, and whatever the case is happening, I was like, oh my gosh, this management side of things is now the thing that I'm least passionate about. Yep. And so I was reading the book that all of us are either currently reading or have read, Buy Back Your Time, and I got to chapter 2, and it was just talking about what makes you the least amount of money that brings you the least amount of joy. Yep. Offload that. And I literally, like that day, I was like, Federico, I know I said I'm not switching to you until January of this year, but we're doing it now. Like we're doing it tomorrow. And so I was like, I just want to understand where you're at, how you're growing, like where your vision is. And I was like, because I want to grow something like alongside you. And I know that we have the same vision on like the ideal hospitality experience that we want to offer. And so he was partnered with Steven, who had a different vision. And we were trying to understand like how that relationship worked. And like 12 hours later, Federico calls and he's like, I've started a new company. We're specializing in boutique experiences. Like we're doing it. And so it's just been like a long time coming that finally, like I cannot express how much happiness I have not having to manage these properties. Like that is not my wheelhouse. And so it's like when you start developing these relationships and partnerships, I think you're naturally gravitated towards people who do the same thing as you. Like that's why Madi and I get along, right? Is like we have a very similar skill set. But the beauty about Federico and why he's so intimately involved in my business is because we have the opposite skill set. It's like very complementary. So now to like see his start to grow alongside ours, I'm just like, yes, I do not have to do this ever again.
Yeah, I think early on, like with just Airbnb investing, I feel like all of us got into it. And we're like, we have to do every piece of the pie to make it work, which I think was the correct decision still. And then you learn a little bit about everything. But then I think now with all of us being a few years into this, it's like, and you can start figuring out like, okay, what about this pie am I really good at and that I like, and just like run with that. And I feel like all of us have done a good job of like finding that little niche within our niche of short-term rentals to like figure out like what we can just like rinse and repeat a lot easier.
Well, I would say what we're probably all uniquely good at, I don't want to single you out, but maybe you are good at this too. I just, if you are, correct me, is like we're uniquely good. Again, like I'm sure we can all call a guest and, walk them off whatever panic attack they're having.
I cannot.
Or make them panic more if some instances.
We're both upset at this point.
But I would say we're probably all uniquely good at like the finding a property, seeing if it has that, the it's factor. And then turning it into the experience.
For sure.
That is, that really is, in my opinion, like the most important part of the game is like the upfront part. And it's the part, you're literally getting paid $50,000 for. So like there's a reason and you're getting, paid it up front for a reason. So it's like, do you want to spend your time like focused on that? Or maybe it's going from, the 500K houses to semi RV glamping park / bigger things, like it definitely makes sense to like keep trading your time for what you're uniquely good at and leveling up on that side of things.
It's an interesting part because on one side it's like I appreciate working with people that have been through management and know the hassle, because if you just did the part of investing into a property and then hand it over as soon as you got it, you do not understand what I'm doing. And sometimes people don't appreciate things because they give it for granted that it should happen, and they don't know the value of what you are providing. So that's one side. But then you can do the whole underwriting and get the right property and everything, but if you hand it over to the wrong management company, or you don't know exactly what you're doing, then that property is not gonna perform as it should. And that's something I come across very often. People
or it's gonna just go to crap. It might do okay for a year and a half, 2 years, but like
the market will.
The market is going to crash you, and that's something I've seen a lot of people that wanted to self-manage, but they didn't have the time. They tried to put a connection with price apps or a lot of price, I'm saying, but they didn't know how to use it, or any PMS that they didn't know how to use, and that ended up hurting the business because they didn't take the time. They didn't take the time to learn how the system works, and they didn't put the right settings instead of giving it to someone that actually can help them and make the property perform the most. So
well, on the management side too, we've been working on a lot is just like the quality control aspect, like upfront, to like making the pass off to whatever property manager you're going to use as seamless as possible. And that's like when you think you have like enough information about your property, you probably need to go and comb through it like another 5 more times. And like that's everything from like take a video of how the hot tub works, like take a video of how do you turn on the grill. So it's like having a video or photo or at least a response to every single question that you could possibly get. And there's always going to be something that you miss, but just trying to get to that quality control as much as possible.
It's how you prepare. It's very interesting how people look at short-term rentals and they see like, okay, I want to create a cool space that's going to be nice and people are going to enjoy, but there are so many things around it. I talk a lot about how you wear a lot of hats when you have a short-term rental property, because if you think about it, we're competing against a hotel. And a hotel, you're going to have revenue management, quality control, maintenance, safety, accounting, front desk, concierge, and so many others, housekeeping. And that you have to do all of that for one property. And then if you scale like me, that I had to manage multiple properties, I need to provide that to multiple properties, right? So it's like, how do you you need to excel or at least be proficient in each one of those. Recently, I got certified as a short-term rental safety inspector. It was a side I didn't have my set skills.
You got certified as a short-term rental safety inspector
through Bridgeway. So it's a program that they have. You get certified, and it's pretty cool because you can go to a property, do an inspection, and if they pass, you get a 10% discount with Proper, for example. So it's pretty cool. But
that's one of the Proper discounts. Yeah, they give the discounts.
Now the thing is that we start finding things that before we didn't see, like none of us will see in a property, and you do not realize the importance of that. And then you think, okay, I'm putting people here that they're enjoying their vacations and everything, but at the end of the day, it's like, hey, we need to be careful, and so many aspects and sides of the business that we need to.
To me, it's just funny that like all of the stuff that like we've been going through on these safety inspections, it's like I can't believe like it's just not already taken care of. It's like this should be a standard thing that's in every house. But when you go through these inspections, you're like, wow, like I thought we had everything covered and we missed all of this.
The carbon monoxide detectors,
all that
smoke detectors.
And it's crazy because one of the houses where we were still missing a few things. I mean, it's in a town in upstate New York, and like we had a fire and safety inspection from the town. Like they came out, they approved that house, then we do the one with Fede.
Do you guys use Proper for
this one? Has Proper,
Really?
It's expensive, but I've gone through 2 claims with them now, and it is just like such a seamless process.
The claims are good?
Yeah.
Because that's my worry. I have, knock on wood.
The claims are great.
I have all these different types of insurances for all these different types of things, and like I don't do the claim. I'm like, what? When I one day actually calling them, I'm paying them a lot of money.
Oh yeah, they're so fast. They're so easy to work with. They're very thorough. Like
they compensate you for like loss of income, I think too, right?
If you have it in your
bed bags, they have a lot of things they cover for amenities of the property, like kayaks and stuff.
But are they like, oh, you actually messed up on something? Do they try to come at you?
They're not accusatory at all. I mean, obviously with any insurance claim, you have a third party who goes out and tries to find like the root cause, but I was worried about that too. I was like, oh my God, are they going to spin this story and make it the owner's fault or something? But not even. Like, they were very much so on our side.
We'll talk about that. We're going to,
yeah,
offline, we're going to compare insurance notes
yes,
and
yes.
make sure this is not sponsored by anyone yet. So any of these companies out there, you know,
but send your offers in the DMs.
Yeah. And speaking of that, how could you guys send your offers? How could everyone stay up to date with what everyone here is doing?
Yeah, Skyler and I are at Skyler and Madi on Instagram and at Madi and Skyler on TikTok. We couldn't get the same one, so they're flip flopped. But we post about.
Oh, I thought you like we were gonna have completely like even name is first.
Ideally, it'd be the same. Yeah, but we post about a lot about our upstate New York properties, a lot of like portfolio updates, little things that we do. So yeah.
You can find me and my missing business partner currently at the Karwells on literally everything.
Yeah, STR guide. Right now, I'm posting on Instagram. Maybe start TikTok. I have a few videos, but I'm new in the Instagram and social media space. I know you've been pushing me to get started, so slowly but steady.
Yeah, people need your help. There's too many bad property management companies.
I'm also at Skyler and Madi.
Madi and Skyler and Madi.
You'll find us.
Awesome. Well, that was a marathon. Maybe we just put this into 2 episodes. I'm not sure given how long this is. I don't know if my podcast editors are going to be too happy, but
full day job, Jeremy.
Yeah. So you stay tuned today. We're about to have a fun time, and I guess one thing I ask people. So last thing, what is just like a quick tangible tip you have for those listening, like one thing just can help them out?
I would say specifically around Airbnb, we've started really applying this, I would say, across all of our positions, is go deep, not wide. I think especially in the space, we see a lot of people that will half-ass everything, and you're leaving so much money on the table by doing that, and then creating more of an operational beast on the back end as well. And so if we can get people to understand that the investment of design and amenities is worth it, then they'll have a better experience across the board, both from their guests and from the overall ROI that they're pulling out. So I'm a big advocate of just reinvesting in the properties that you own, making them absolutely exceptional, make it a huge gap between your property that's top in the market and the next property around you, and just doubling down and going deep and not wide.
Deep, not wide. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Skyler, Madi, Skyler.
I would say one would be just like make sure you're hiring the right people, and if you need to find new people, like don't be afraid to do so.
That's the corporate in him talking. That's institution right there.
Yeah. And then the other one I was gonna say is like within just the Airbnb space in particular, like make sure that you're okay taking on like risk when you're thinking about investing in Airbnbs. Like as many people like there is like us in the world, like you still have to be comfortable making sure that you know the risk that you're getting into. Like nothing is going to be a sure thing. Like I feel like we talk to way too many people, and you have to understand that like this is not something that is just going to like come overnight, and you have to be comfortable, especially in some of the markets like we talked about today. Like it may go south. Like this may not be the answer for everyone, and you have to be comfortable with that opportunity as well.
Yeah, I would say know your value and know your worth. I feel like I struggled with that a lot on both ends, like maybe charging too much or charging too little. Like understand what your skill set is and what people are willing to pay for it, and hold to that.
Yeah.
I think if you go too high, you're going to have a hard time finding people to work with, and if you go too low, you're going to find the wrong people to work with. Yeah. So you really have to find like a sweet spot for what you're charging for anything.
I'll say that this is a people's business, so you need to understand if you have the skills to deal with people, great. If not, try to offload that to someone else, especially if you're dealing with guests. A property manager is going to help you a lot. And then if you are self-managing, make sure to keep your listing up to date, continue educating yourself. Don't just like, it's not something that you set up and let it run, but you actually have to be on top of it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's go to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
This is the Short-Term Rental Pros podcast. Please like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. And we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.